Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Moon, of course, and welcome to another forecast. We're going to talk about the astrology of August and the eclipses and all of the things. There's so many things, and I'm not going to go as long as I did last month. Last month got out of hand. It was like 3 hours long. Hoping it's going to be a reasonable amount of time today. If you're joining me again, thank you. You know what to do. There's the chat. I like to have this done live because then I'm here to answer questions. So if there's anything concerning that I say, people can chat about it. If there's any days that I skip over, I'm not going to cover every single day in August. You can ask me about it in the chat. Um, yeah, talk amongst yourselves. If you're here, let me know where you're from. I'll try to keep that in mind as I speak today. I do try to give, I'm in Central Time, so I usually give Central Time, and then especially for certain things, like very important things like the eclipses or like a void moon or the lunar benefic, malefic enclosures. I do also like to include universal time. So if I'm giving a second time zone, it's UT, it's universal time, and then you can convert that however you will. I actually have a really handy dandy uh, converting tool. I don't know if anybody is familiar with this. If you are someone who is always working with different time zones, I really like worldtimebuddy.com. Not a friend of the show, but a friend of me because, yeah, it's really helpful. So then if I'm in Chicago, I'm not in Chicago. If I'm in Central Time, close enough, 7 p.m. here, it tells me that it is midnight Universal Time. So this is a really nice little handy dandy tool you can use. I don't really have any announcements. That was kind of a nice little digression. I do not have any announcements. I don't have any events going on. I kind of have not a lot going on this time, which is fine. It's been a busy few months. I did my gallery reading event. We had 4 or 5 people show up to that. That was really fun. I'm going to keep doing those quarterly. So you can expect my next group reading event where it's just like kind of donation based, pay what you can. I'm going to do that. It'll be around the equinox, whenever the next equinox is. Um, Otherwise, I have my monthly question and answer time, my astrology Q&A, and that is going to be on the 13th of August, also at 7 p.m. Central, midnight Universal Time. Um, Send me your questions by email. My email is aligninglight@gmail.com. And that's where you can send me questions for the next Q&A, which is in 2 weeks about. And you do not have to be present for me to answer those questions. You can just send me an email and I'll cover it as best as I can or provide other resources to learn it better than I can teach it. And I'll do that at the Q&A and you don't have to be there. You can just tune in later. Um, yeah, I think that's it. I don't have any discount codes right now, but as those are also quarterly, but as always, I have a sliding scale. So if times are tough out there, my main thing that I'm doing over here are readings. That's what I spend most of my time doing with folks is one-on-one astrology readings. I do birth chart readings. We do timing, forecasting, helping you strategically plan ahead. There are written reports for the transits that I give people for my forecasting sessions. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can work with me. And if all of them are too expensive, there's a sliding scale for that. I also have tutoring, mentoring, and I have recently added divination, including tarot. It's kind of a one-stop shop. You can get a divination reading, and in that, you have access to me doing tarot, the astrology dice. If you don't know about astrology dice, astrology dice. The Beanie Babies, the Beanie Baby divination from last month, I'm keeping them. That's on the table from here forward. We can do a tarot reading, but if you also want a Beanie Baby oracle, we can do that. I got some oracle decks. So kind of, I bring my whole toolbox of divination stuff in. And, usually I use 1 to 3 of those things during a session with people. It's been really fun. It feels way more kind of open and free and loose than astrology, which gets very systematized, which is good for its own purposes. But that's a different set of tools. I digress. Check out all my stuff on my website, www.aligninglightastrology.com. It's all there. Oh, and finally, I do have a piece of writing that I did. I finally wrote something. It's been a minute. It's short. It's a short essay. It's also on my website. And I go a little bit about Leo. I speak about those types of symbolisms and then how that might, in terms of understanding ourselves, understanding our identities, yay the sun, yay Leo. The 12th house also becomes handy. And we can kind of in a side or back channel way explore the self through the 12th house, which is usually a place of not self or unself or self undoing or all of these kind of ominous things that people talk about. Check it out on my website. It's very hopeful. It's very encouraging, very supportive vibes. So go read that on my website. That's kind of my little Leo blurb. It's not a rising sign horoscope, but it is broadly applicable to it's applicable beyond astrology. So check it out on my website, www.aligninglightastrology.com. And I think we can get into it. Let me bring up the clock. I have finally figured out, everyone's going to be so relieved. I know I am. I figured out how to make the wheel stay at Aries rising. And I wish they had a Thema Mundi option. Hey, Astro Gold, before I'm going to threaten to switch to a different software, make me a Thema Mundi version where I can make Cancer rising. But this is fine. We're going to have less whiplash now. So instead of everything moving around all the time with the ascendant, we're not doing that. I actually took the angles off. So now as I go day by day, we're about to have, yeah, it's going to be less visually overwhelming, I think. It only took me 4 years. My God. So that'll be a little different today. And then how best to use this info before I get into it. So down below, I've got so many links. I have links about Annual Profections, which is the furthest down. And that is where you're going to find a bunch of resources for learning a technique, a timing technique called Annual Profections. And Annual Profections are something that we should be doing before transits. So transits are step 3 or 4. Step 1 and 2 and 3, we got the zodiacal releasing or the decennials. We've got annual profections. If you're medieval, you got your continuous profections. And then we've also got secondary progressions, but that's a whole other different thing. You got the solar return chart. After you define your time lords from the first few systems, then you can really narrow your focus by the time you get to the solar return chart. And then after that, then you start looking at the transits, right? Right. And so what we've all been doing, again, this is like, so sorry to the people who've heard me say this over and over and over again. We're skipping ahead. This is not beginner. Transits are not beginner astrology. I hate it. I wish it wasn't like that. Following the moon is beginner astrology. Watching the planets in the sky, watching the transits in a kind of basic way is fine. But transits, how I'm doing them today, making interpretations, synthesizing a bunch of stuff together, this kind of stuff really works best once we can ground it into your birth chart, because all of the skies are going to hit your birth chart differently. And all of us have different planets that are alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic at different years of our life. So I might be in a year where Mercury and Mars are really loud. You might be in a year where maybe Venus is your main time lord and Venus is really loud. And what's even more is that nuance depends on a bunch of other stuff in your birth chart. So if you hang out for any amount of time on astrology social media, there's people increasingly talking shit about forecasting. Like exactly what I'm doing. I feel like every time I log on, there's just someone talking shit about forecasting. And like I get why. And so this is why now we're really I'm gonna spend time. I don't mean to do this for like, any other reason than I feel like we have to. I feel like we have to start dealing with profections really directly instead of ignoring it and just moving on to the fun stuff, which honestly, like perfections are fun. So I've kind of found this metaphor for using perfections before and getting our time lords before we move into transit work. And it's like having a buddy system before you go into an amusement park. So, like, remember buddy system? Find your buddy. But instead of finding our buddy, we're going to find a time lord. You got to find your time lords and link arms with them before you go into the transits, before you go into the theme park. You got to find your buddy first. So at any point today, if I'm talking about any type of transit, let's say the eclipses, I need you to immediately think, who are my time lords? Does this matter to me? Because if it's not sun or moon, I don't care about a Leo eclipse. Maybe, for the really advanced astrology people out there, your modifier would be if you're Jupiter Mercury year or something, because the next eclipse has Jupiter and Mercury kind of intermingled. But this is the kind of stuff we got to look at. It's like, who is your time lord? Who are the planets that are allowed for you? Find your buddies, find your time lords, and then you're allowed to go into the theme park. Then you're allowed to do the transit interpretations because you'll be able to say, okay, Saturn's not my buddy. Saturn's not my time lord this year. I don't give a flying fluff then as much about Saturn stuff. So all this Saturn retrograde that like, I don't know why this is the first time ever I've noticed people like going off about Saturn stations. Like no one ever cares about Saturn stations, but all of a sudden everyone's caring about Saturn stations. It's fine. Uh, but like if you're not in a Saturn year, if you're not in an Aries, like Mars ruled profection year, you don't need to worry about it? So then like 2 hours of info that I give today for everyone out there, really like out of this 2 hours I'm going to be talking, maybe 20 minutes of it is relevant to you. So this is not efficient. This is not efficient at all. But it's fine. This is what we're doing. So I've been talking for 15 minutes and I haven't even checked in with the chat. So let me do that really quick. And then I promise that we will start talking astrology. And I did actually think of one other very important announcement that I actually do have. Hello, Clark. Hello. I'm seeing some familiar faces and handles. It's nice to see you, everyone. Hello, Tara. Oh, yeah, people. Oh, you are up. Thank you for staying up. Good evening. Uh, someone says linked arms with Saturn for the next couple months of theme parking. Okay, okay. So someone does maybe have Saturn as a Time Lord here. So yeah, then stuff I say about Saturn, please listen. But yeah, looks like I think that's oh. So we got 28, someone's in their 28th perfection year. So they do have Saturn as a Time Lord. We're doing it, friends. This is how we do it. People are finding their Time Lords. I'm so happy. We can do it. We can do transits like mass, I swear. And, of course, like the moon hard aspects to Saturn. We're gonna talk about those. Then don't hand in your application days. Don't make the request days. But yeah, if you're in a Saturn year, you definitely need to watch those. So keep your eye out for those today or ear out for those. Yeah, thank you everyone. Yay, astrology. It starts off with really simple building blocks, but very quickly we can become entangled. Um, Very serious note though. So, okay, one more thing before we dive in. Um, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. And if anyone's been watching the news, there has been a really serious kind of thing that's happened here recently. Also, content warning. I'm going to give a few seconds to pause. If you're not in the mood for heavy information, heavy discussions. You might want to go have a snack, go take a break, put me on mute for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll be done talking about it. But okay, content warning aside, in Madison, Wisconsin, if you've been watching the news, then you know that we have had another police murder here. And particularly the life that we lost Corey Ruiz. And Corey was a gentleman who lived in Madison. Uh, and they lost their life on the street that I lived on for 5 to 6 years. It was the same street where we lost Tony Robinson. Uh, so, and I worked on that street for several years. So it happened right outside the pharmacy I used to work at. That is no longer a pharmacy now. It's a hair place. But in any event, it's just like I couldn't not talk about it. Like, how do you not talk about that? So I've made some comments on my threads. You can see more of my direct thoughts on threads on my account there, which is under Claire Moon, Aligning Light Astro. But I put the GoFundMe. My main thing here is rest in peace, rest in power. Look at the GoFundMe link below for his family. It doesn't go toward legal fees or funeral expenses, but it does go toward his daughter, his family, and care that they'll need to recover or get help with racial trauma. So if people can look at that link, that would be great. And if funds are difficult, I would much rather have you give money to that GoFundMe than to my services. Just hit the like button on this little video. But yeah, I wanted to just take some space for that. So that's that. That's what I have to say about that here. But I did want to illuminate it for people to see and to read about. It's all over the news. Thank you, everyone. And now we are gonna get to the dates of interest, and then we'll talk a little bit about the month ahead. Oh, and I got to reflect on a couple things from July because we all know July was kind of a shit show. July's been a shit show. Yeah, so we got to talk about that a little bit too. Let's look at the dates of interest. My notey notes. So August 2026 starts. We've got Chiron stationing retrograde on the 3rd of August, Venus entering Libra on the 6th, Mercury entering Leo. Whoa. Mercury entering Leo on the 9th, Mars entering Cancer on the 11th. Around the 12th-ish, mid-month, Mercury starts disappearing in the morning sky. We're going to have our Leo new moon solar eclipse on the 12th. On the 15th of August, we have Venus's max elongation. Around the 18th-ish, I mean, probably earlier, Jupiter is going to start appearing in the morning sky. The sun is going to get further away from Jupiter, and Jupiter will pop up again and be able to be seen before the sun rises. Then also on the 18th, different calculation, but the mean lunar nodes switch signs. I'm already talking about them like they're in Leo and Aquarius. On the 22nd of August, Sun enters Virgo. On the 25th, Mercury enters Virgo. On the 27th, Mercury is cazimi and square Uranus, which is fun. And that happens at the same time as the Pisces lunar eclipse. Wow. So 27th is very interesting too. Lots of stuff. And then toward the end of the month, we're going to have Mars and Saturn moving into a square that can be a little crunchy, So that's happening toward the end of the month. That wraps up 1st of September. So we're going to start off the month, talk about the eclipses, and then the last part of the month, we'll be focusing a little bit more on that Mars-Saturn square. And those are the dates of interest. Let's look a bit at what happened in July. As I record this, it is July 29th. So most of the month has happened. Let's see. So Mercury station direct. Great. They get out of their post-retrograde shadow on the 7th of August. I should have said that too. Mercury leaves their post-retrograde shadow on the 7th of August. They had stationed direct just on the 23rd, so about a week ago as I record this. Mercury is now starting to speed up. We're starting to build speed and get faster and faster. So now our messaging, our communication, news, information should be starting to move a little faster. Upload and download speeds, hopefully going a little bit better. Travel, yeah, commerce, buying, selling, ideas, plans, doing anything rational or logical. All of that gets much more quicker moving and more functional increasingly as we get July done and get into August. Um, so Mercury station direct. We also had Mars retro, or not Mars retrograde, Mars in Gemini ruled by the Mercury retrograde. So, okay, there was a few things going on that really like were reflected, I think. Like the sky was very much reflecting, ironically, the astrological community and all of the bickering that we're always doing online. And I'm net like my birth chart just isn't good for that. Not to like, not as like a an excuse to not be involved in vocal, but the Adam sec malefic of my birth chart rules my voice place and is in the public place. It's like it's just meant to get me in trouble over and over and over again. So I got to be careful. But nobody else does. And that is very apparent. No one else is ever seems to be being careful about anything online. People are just saying shit, right? And wow, like the last month, what a terrible month for all of that. Like, yeah, let's have all of the astrological, serious, hypercritical discourses with each other. It's almost like we don't even know astrology sometimes. I like, do people like they know, they like learn transits, they learn astrology, and then they just F around and find out anyway, just for fun, just to feel alive? Like why are we even doing this? It's like, it's almost like, yeah, it's like people just let themselves get taken by by things. Anyway, I don't mean to judge, but I'm getting into judgy territory here. Uh, and who was ruling this Mars and Uranus stuff, which is like very direct, forthwith communication usually. Saying, what is on the Gemini mind, saying the many minds one has about a thing, saying things sharply, directly, having a very swift and just sharp mind as well. But when all of that intellectual bag of knives is ruled by a retrograde, combust for most of it, Mercury, who's then also starting to oppose Pluto pretty soon, like, I don't really like any of that. That's not great. So that was all going on. And so of course we kind of like erupted into this whole, and I keep saying we, it's like the scene, I purposely don't call it a community. It's a scene. No offense, but community would imply more support and care and kindness than I think most of us see around there. It's a scene. Anyway, in the scene, we were arguing about Mars and sex. It was sexy Mars discourse for most of the first part of July. And it came from an original tweet who I'm just going to leave the people out of it. But the original tweet was about how Jupiter had to do more with procreation, how Jupiter had to do more with procreation than sex. That was essentially the tweet, you know, uh, that Mars didn't really have much to do, if anything, with sex or procreation, and Jupiter did. And it's that original statement, which happened like 3 weeks before the discourse actually kind of got brushed up again, which is kind of weird. There was like a little delay. But that got kind of quickly kind of brushed under the rug, forgotten about, and the word procreation fell out of the discourse entirely. And then everyone just got really incensed that anyone would say that Mars doesn't have anything to do with sex, which wasn't the original tweet. It was actually about procreation, which is different. Involved, Venn diagram, that's an overlapping Venn diagram. So yeah, everyone was like arguing about all this stuff all month, but like no one was even arguing with the correct tweet in the or the correct thread in the first place. Because guess what? Mercury was retrograde the whole time. So it was almost like a misunderstanding that led to this whole conflagration of the discourse. So that was cute. The other big thing, then, of course, the basket. I don't even want to say the word. I'm so tired of hearing it. I was part of it. I made a meme. But this is one of the overall thoughts about this upcoming month, mixed with some thoughts about last month. We've had the Sun and Jupiter plugging into the basket, getting into the basket. That has been discussed ad nauseum. Everyone, please look below as well. I have a link to a different astrologer. Critical Astrology is the name of their Substack. And go check that out. I want to make sure it's down there. I'm pretty positive it is. Yeah, it's like the fourth link down. So, uh, Samira Bachara. I wanted to say their name. They are critical astrology, and they wrote some pretty cool stuff about Barbeau. So check out this Barbeau's basket and the need for critical analysis in astrology. That's a really good one to read. That's linked below. And then I haven't read the second part yet. I just found it today, so I'm very excited to read the second part. Read that if you're interested in the basket stuff. That's, I think, really, really good, going to be helpful context. But the Sun and Jupiter, they've both walked into the basket. They're in there, and they're gonna kind of start moseying on here. In August, we're gonna have Mercury move into Leo. They're gonna join with the basket. They're gonna get in the boat, and then later in the month, Venus is going to they're gonna get up here and be like the top of this. Or like, I guess it starts to make a kite almost. If I think is that? No, it's not a kite. Not quite. Not quite a kite. Or no, it will be. It will be. Work smarter, not harder. When Venus gets into Libra, this is what I'm trying to show you. They are going to lock in with all of the basket, but from a different place than what we've been dealing with. So I don't think that we're going to experience this Venus one quite the same as we have all of the Leo planets, because it's going to be a different set of configurations. We've got like an opposition in there. So we'll see what that's about. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, I got to talk about the basket watch 2026. Watch the basket. Uh, if I have to, like, it's a word I just never want to hear again. Oh my God. Okay, the basket. Yeah, we had so much fun. So many good puns. I mean, unparalleled pun game, everyone. Great work. Excellent work. Okay. We talked about the buddy system. We talked about the discourse. We talked about the basket. Oh, and the other thing, circling back to the discourses. So I had mentioned Mercury retrograde ruling over Mars and Gemini. There's some anticia going on between them. It's almost like they had like a tin can telephone between the two, where like usually they wouldn't be in an aspect, but they have something called anticia where they got some other things in common that have them communicating a little bit. So like, yeah, not super great. All the stories pretty much like I usually try to watch my hyperbole. When I say all, I mean like every single person I've talked to that has had things happen in the last month, like that have been really important, there's some shenanigans and it has not been stable. So I am so happy to see this configuration break up and move on. By the end of July into August, it is. The other thing that's been going on that I really saw in the astrology scene online that really reflected the sky vividly was something that I said last month, which I don't usually, and I need to do better at this, like the going back, looking at what I said and seeing what landed and what didn't. And sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I like to live in the moment. Bleh. But anyway, I had mentioned last month that Jupiter is our groups, it's our friends, our allies. Jupiter joy has their joy in the 11th house in the Hellenistic system. So Jupiter being about friends, groups, allies, culture, kind of that shared stuff we have as a collective group, very Jupiter. Very Jupiter finding their joy in the 11th house. So Jupiter, that symbolizes all of these things, opposing Pluto, could be now Plutonian power dynamics, Plutonian power differentials, or coercion with groups, with friends, power dynamics with groups, with the scene, essentially. And heck yeah, we saw that. That was a really intense discourse. A couple very, like between the basket and the Mars sex thing, that was like very intense. Like we do that, relatively frequently, but that was a spicy, extra spicy one. So I think also part of why was because of Jupiter and really then Sun too. Just like this desire to express also what you know, the information and ideas and beliefs that you have and having that be very Plutonian, intense, or kind of in a controlled or controlling environment. And like, yeah, I saw that out of the groups and peers that I was around, like that all of us were pretty intense that were being involved in that. And even the people who were trying to be level, were walking into a kind of intense atmosphere socially, culturally. So, um, yep, I was right about that. I didn't, and I had said too, I'd made that comment in last month's video, and then I said that would be weird. And then I went on to talk about fish. Um, Turns out it wasn't weird. It's exactly what happened. Yeah, that would be weird. And it was weird and uncomfortable. And I had to just stay off the internet for a long time so I didn't get sucked into it. But yeah, I saw that and that was maybe, a not fun thing. Plenty of like cool stuff that, seeing Jupiter plug into this very inspiring uh breakthrough type energy, inspired action, inspired beliefs, and kind of this hope for the future. Jupiter has this forward looking thing about it, and here really being imbued with vision and that energy to try things differently, do things differently. So, plenty of constructive things to come out of the basket with the planets that are plugging in. But wowza, did I see some not so favorable things last month. So yeah, we'll see what happens when Mercury plugs in, if that gives you an idea of the intensity. Okay. Uh, do I have any other thoughts? The Venus-Mars square just broke up. The that was going across Virgo and Gemini. Venus is now separating from Mars. So that's nice. It's maybe, that added to the whole thing. So okay, another third thing. Like we needed it. So we had Mercury retrograde ruling over Mars. We had Pluto opposite Jupiter. And then while all that's going on, and maybe this is the main point that I should have said first, but there's always arguments, right? When we get Venus, Mars square. I shouldn't say always. There's a high probability of some arguments. There's a high probability of some interpersonal tension, interpersonal busyness. It's interpersonal stuff. Maybe going at a speed or a pace with some urgency that makes it busy, or maybe happening where there's more conflict in our relationships. Also, yes. So, wow, what a shitty month to have to talk about anything. And we did though. We did. But like if you ever wonder, why isn't Claire saying something? Look at the sky and see how gnarly it is. I'm probably looking at that and, letting it control my behavior. Okay, I think that's all of my past thoughts about July. Good riddance. Good riddance. Now we're gonna have eclipses. Sure, fine. Okay, so basket watch complete. Oh, Saturn did station. And I talked about that last month. It's really the stations that are more interesting with Saturn and any of the slower planets, especially the outer planets. I'm more interested in the weeks around their station. So we have Saturn stationing in July. They're stationing retrograde. And then in December, they're going to station again. They're going to slow down again and station direct. But it's the slowdowns that are interesting to me. So for people who are Saturn-tastic, if you are an Aquarius or a Capricorn rising, you might notice this a little bit more globally in your life, like more generally in your life, where things are slowing down for some reason. Use myself as an example. I did not see this coming necessarily, although I should have, because I saw, like, yes, I am Saturn, Aquarius rising. Uh, I'm gonna see something slowing down. Turns out I messed up my upper back now a little bit. It's not as bad as 2 years ago, but I did strain. I strained the upper part of my back between my shoulder blades. Um, very this. Uh, like I know Taurus's neck. It's kind of my neck. I can't move my neck. And yeah, definitely Mars in the place where things bifurcate into shoulders. Our neck bifurcates into two areas. So yep, I am slowing down. And my gym, my third house, this is my third house of Aries, slowing down to a stop, not going to the gym, resting, probably going to be on rest for another few days. And then we're going to see Saturn now starting to move and pick up speed in the opposite direction. And once they pick up speed, even though they're retrograde, Saturn is going to be picking up their speed again and getting back up to their usual pace. So again, like they're going to be like that for 4 months. I don't really care about the time in between. And then December will be the next slowdown. So, um, yep, Saturn stationed. Talked about a little bit more last month. You can check it out there. I have timestamps, so you can always just go right to the thing, right to the time. All right, now I think we can move to August. So let me check in with the chat really quick, and then we'll look at August. Hello, Sam. Nice to see you. Sam, I need to see the whole chart. That's too many variables floating around in my little brain. Um, but yeah, check out if you want to know how to do annual profections and you want to know how to find your time lords. Links below. There's a lot of good links below. And now I'm actually wondering because I think I have one I need to add that recently just happened. Just very recently, uh, really great astrologer, Gabriel Rosas, Gabriel Rosa, Rosas. They did a class on annual profections for Kepler University for free. It's on YouTube. Let me see if I can still find it. Yeah, annual profections, Kepler. Ah, sorry, everyone. I'm trying to find a video. I think I found it. I'll share it in the chat. But this is also a really good quick start kind of guide. And I'll put it below the show notes after this. But yeah, there's another fresh Annual Profections just got dropped a month ago. That's another really good class for that. And it'll teach you how to find your time lords. Alrighty. Thanks, everybody. Discrete 1998. I am so sorry to hear that. Um, yeah, not ridiculous at all. Very reasonable, unfortunately. It's the full moon. Yes. Sam is saying it's the full moon. I don't know. It is today. The full moon is today. Um, I think I don't have anything to add. I do like what I said last month. Um, the full moon that we're having, it's in the first decan of Aquarius, and it's the Five of Swords. If anyone is familiar with the tarot, let's go to there. So we just had this full moon today in the first 10 degrees of Aquarius. And this can be not the most intellectually comfortable place to be, but it can be a place of a lot of intellectual problem solving. There's kind of these themes of either avoiding a problem, avoiding solving a problem, or actually directly doing that, trying to solve the problem, intellectually problem solving, confronting what is hard to think about and how to deal with it. That is a bit about what this first decan is. It's kind of like we're leaving the established material structures of Capricorn. We're leaving that and we're going to this place where it's not as well resourced. We have to be more resourceful and ingenuitive and inventive in the first decan of Aquarius. So, you know, since I did my last forecast, I don't remember exactly all the things I said about it, but now having the news happen, how the news has happened, having more recent events, there's some problem solving energy at least happening in my community. We're confronting some really obvious uh, obvious power imbalances and ineffectual things and trying to figure out how we never have to have or how we never have this happen again. So, yeah, not the most I guess restful type of configuration. Any full moon is higher energy, more light in the moon, more energy down here. So in general, full moons are not the most restful. I save that for new moons. But yeah, especially like the first 10 degrees of Aquarius where we had that full moon, not the most restful place in the entire circle of the zodiac either. It does require something of us, and it isn't a Saturn ruled sign. So there is something here saying what is required, what is necessary here. And right now, as I speak, the moon is running into Saturn. Nice little reception there. Rough Saturn, not much to give, not much to offer, but we can at least have a conversation. So that's a bit about what's going on today. And as July ends, it's actually a really good segue. Let me see if there's any other folks. Oh, we got Cosmic Plumbing. If you're looking for astrology software, there's like, this is part of the outer planet thing. It used to just be like Astro Gold and Astro Solar Fire. It used to be like just those two, I feel like. And like there were some other ones before that, of course, that were before my time. Um, but now it's like completely different ball game. It is like I feel like people are much more open to like different astrology softwares. People are shopping around more and trying out kind of different things. But Cosmic Plumbing is another astrology software and like run by very brilliant astrologers. So check them out. Hey, hi. Uh, we have not talked much about Sun Jupiter cazimi. I did talk about it last month, though. I definitely talked about it in July's forecast. But my big thing with cazimis that I will mention again, it's a good reminder. So thank you. This is a good reminder. Um, Jupiter or any cazimi is clarity. We get clarity. So what clarity can we have today and tomorrow on the 29th and 30th of July? And also clarity maybe yesterday on the 28th about Jupiter stuff. So, whether that's clarity around Jupiter's general significations of knowledge, clarity around understanding something, clarity of knowledge, comprehension, clarity around friends, groups, your hopes and dreams and wishes, but also clarity around whatever Jupiter rules in your chart. So, for this hypothetical Aries rising, it would be their 12th and their ninth house, and all of those life topics, travel, beliefs, hidden things, retreat, clarity on any of those. So keep your head on a swivel. I don't know. Sometimes I like to make space during a cazimi to quiet down or get still so that if there are insights, I can collect them. However, um, I think kazimis are so powerful that I think the insights will just find you as you go about your day. That's what I've been noticing. I don't think you need to try that hard, actually. I used to say that more like, meditate, make some space, but I mean, it'll come when it's going to come. So, yeah, watch for clarity. And then also, it's a reset button. It's our annual reset button for all the Jupiter things. So, that's what I'm going to say about that. But yeah, very similar to my notes from last month. Uh, and overall thoughts. Okay, so a couple more things about the month in general. Uh, Mars. So going forward, Mars is out of bounds from August 3rd to August 28th. Out of bounds is a different type of way of thinking about planetary motion. Usually we're thinking about things with longitude. So going east to west and kind of this secondary primary motion of planets through houses and signs and things like that. However, there's also the up and down, the north and the south. And if we like watch a bunch of planets move across the sky, they're going to move in the path of the sun. And the path of the sun is called the ecliptic. And so, like in the southeastern sky, you can see the planets moving across, roughly following the path of the sun. The roughly part is the part because planets won't be always exactly at the same latitude as the sun, the same height as the sun. Sometimes they'll be a little bit above, sometimes they'll be a little bit below that path. And I think we see that the most with the moon. We see the moon most frequently get really high in the sky sometimes, and then we'll see the moon get really low in the sky. And usually, when the moon is really like at those lower latitudes, lower declination, out of bounds or really high out of bounds. That's what that means. It's like when the planet is very far away from the general path of the sun, either very low in the sky or very high in the sky. Like when the moon is really low in the sky, the atmosphere kind of plays tricks on our eyes and the way things work, and it makes the moon look really big. So that's a thing that exists because of declination and not thinking just the east and the west, but also the north and the south. And so this month, and it just adds more interpretive info, which I can't, is not, that's beyond the scope of right now. But it does change, and it should change our interpretation of what these planets are doing and how they're interacting with each other. So Mars this month is going to be out of bounds. They're going to be a little higher than the path of the sun and the rest of the planets. And the symbolism that goes along with this, as far as I have learned, and really like I have not heard the source of this. I don't even know where this comes from, but I see it like empirically. It works. I use it. I follow it. Uh, but anyway, from August 3rd to August 28th, Mars is out of bounds, and symbolically, that means that they're going to be doing their own thing. They don't care to stick to the order of the sun. The sun is an ordering body, the sun is the center of the solar system. Everything else orders itself around the gravity of the sun. Kind of similar, analogous idea that planets that are closer to that ecliptic path of the sun are more in the order of that solar system. And when planets get really far away from that, they're kind of like little rebels. They're doing their own thing. They're expressing themselves without any consideration of the system or the context, or just being extra them, like just very them. And so, for better or for worse, so Mars gonna be very whatever they're doing, whatever condition they're in, they're not playing it safe. They're not playing by the rules. More loose cannony energy, I guess, out of them. And so we want to watch the destructive Mars things, like in August, I'd already say this anyway with the eclipses, but with Mars out of bounds, it's kind of like we want to watch our anger, we want to watch our and really take care of any of those irritations, anger, resentment, rage, not suppress, not say no, actually say yes to those feelings and take care of them. What would make them feel better? What do those feelings, what words do they need? What conversations do they need? So we're going to be, if you're feeling a lot of Mars, I don't like to tell people how they're going to feel under a certain sky. You might just be very energetic. You might just be going to the gym. You might just be like, Mars is energy, motivation, action, making decisions. Maybe you're just doing all those things and doing them based on your own will and independence, and that's fine. But yeah, especially if we start to notice some of those more heated, more difficult to hold Mars things. Uh, yeah, August. That might be the case. So that was a general thought for the month. That being said, really happy that Venus is moving away from this square. So whatever Mars is doing, however, they're getting hemmed in by Saturn later when they get into that Saturn square from Cancer. Uh, at least Venus will kind of be, for the most part, not getting this exact overcoming square from Mars. So that's that's fine. That's something worth considering. And then finally, at the end of the month, I'll say it one more time, Mars and Saturn are gonna have a square. And that is not usually a comfortable configuration. It leaves a bit of a sour taste at the end of the month, or a really busy, pressurized kind of thing at the end of August. So set yourself up for success, I would say, especially for the last week. Like, just because we get through those eclipses, I'm gonna say that we still need to kind of keep the guitar strings tightened up, keep our attention focused, be on our best through the Mars Saturn square on September 1st. So, not out of the woods after the eclipses, more out of the woods by like end of first week of September. I actually really like the first few days of September. I was electing things for people for the first week of September. So there's some nicer weather coming. It'll be interesting. I'm really interested to hear what Lisa Scheim comes up with for the elections for this upcoming month. Her and Chris Brennan, because I saw so many elections around the eclipses, like that I really wanted to do. I love several of the things about the August sky, and yet there's eclipses in there, and so it corrupts it. And so I was like, well, shoot. I mean, and you can use eclipses for elections, it depends on what you're using it for. It's just that that's kind of a specialized use that doesn't usually come up as often. But I don't know. August in general, it doesn't, even though there's eclipses, again, like it doesn't have, to me, as many annoying things as like July, which is weird. Usually I'm much more ominous of the eclipse months, but not this one. And I think as we talk about the eclipses, you'll kind of hear why I'm not being quite as ominous as I might usually be. Uh, that's all my general thoughts. Okay, it's detail time. We're an hour in. Oh goodness, I can do it. I can be done in 2 hours. We can be done in an hour. Let's get into some details. See if there's any questions. Yeah, someone's saying that they already have a very Mars-tastic year, so grab your buddy for the theme park, your safety buddy, grab your Time Lord. Who's your Time Lord? Someone's got Mars. I do too. I'm also in a Mars year. Hi. Oh my goodness. And so yeah, like this is where we say, okay, is Mars, we're talking about Mars out of bounds. Does it matter for me? Is Mars my Time Lord? Am I in an Aries or Scorpio or any any perfected place where Mars is in my chart? Is that on this year? And if it is, then yeah, we might need to take care even more of all of the feelings. Someone brings up exercise, bike, cycling out the rage. Yes. Yeah, raging it out in the gym. Excellent. Very good, very good stuff. Uh, Love it. So, and I love how Thich Nhat Hanh especially talks about this because they would talk about how to take care of anger like a baby. You know, you hold your anger like a baby, and what does that baby need when it's upset? Kind words, a snack, a nap. You know, like we look at what needs aren't being met. Um, what is the fear or the ouchie that is going on? There's an investigation we can do, and acceptance and allowing the feelings to happen. The whole kind of, if anyone remembers the RAIN method from Michelle McDonald, and then uh, Dr. Brock, Tara Brock adapted it, but it's called the RAIN method of emotional caretaking, I guess. RAIN. And yeah, recognize, what is it? Recognize, allow, investigate, and then nurture, nourish, support. What would make me feel better? What would help me feel good? We take care of the anger. It's okay. It's there. It happens, especially during a Mars year. So yeah, during a Mars year, those themes of Mars are going to be louder. So yeah, I we are in that together. We will both be taking care of our rage babies and going to the gym or whatever. Yes, me too. Yay, Mars. Okay, and that is the segue we need because, my friends, the month starts off with some Marsiness. We've got a T-square. I like to follow the moon around. You'll notice that a lot of my forecasting is really following the moon. And on this first day of August, we have a T-square, some tense energy, maybe just a lot of busyness, maybe a busy Saturday on August 1st. This would not be the day to pick battles necessarily. They're going to be extra hot potato. Um, yeah, kind of a mind your own business day to start off the month. But then the next day, on the 2nd, we do have our first lunar benefic enclosure of the month. If you want to follow along, you can click below, and there's a lunar benefic enclosure calculator from astro-seek.com. Thank you, Astro-seek. Not a friend of the show, but Peter's great. Yeah, all of it's in there. I like to pick out the lunar enclosures that are strongest or longest. Ideally, the ideal version, which if it's a besiegement, it's not fun, but the ideal version is 7 degrees on either side. The moon is got to be within 7 of the one guy, and then also the other guy, gender neutral guys. So, the planet, in this case, the moon, can either be hugged by 2 beams from intense planets, and that's a malefic enclosure, intense energies, which are useful in ways too. And then a benefic enclosure is the moon, or any planet, but in this case, the moon, being hugged by supportive, helpful energy. And so on the second, we get the second one. We get the moon, and they're going to end up being supported by, they're going to leave in opposition with Venus, and they're going to run into the arms of Jupiter, kind of, by Trine. So let me give you the exact time of this. This is a good time to be comfortable, to do things that feel good, to have things turn out better, have the outcomes be better, or have the outcomes you seek come to you more easily. And that is going to be on August 2nd, 7:32 a.m. Central Time to the next day on August 3rd, 4 or 5:20 in the morning Central Time. Lunar benefic enclosure, August 2nd, Universal Time, 12:32 p.m. until the next day, August 3rd, 10:20 a.m. Universal Time. So 1st of August, meh. 2nd of August, better. 3rd of August, we're going to have Chiron station retrograde. And they got into Chiron, I believe it was in June. It was on June 19th. And they're doing their station on the 3rd of August. And then they're going to get back into, where'd you go? Chiron is going to go back into Aries, and that's going to happen on September 17th. So in about 6 weeks, we're going to have Chiron leave Taurus and go back into Aries. And then Chiron's going to be in Aries until April 14th. In January, they're going to get to 26 Aries, and they're going to station direct at 26 Aries. And so that's in January. And then by April of 2027, they'll re-enter Taurus for good. And this matters the most for people who have planets in the last 4 degrees of any of the cardinal signs. So look in your birth chart, or notice too if like you're in an Aries or Mars ruled profection year, you're going to notice Chiron doing their 2nd and 3rd pass over any points that you might have at the end of cardinal signs, either a conjunction, a square, or an opposition. So not as relevant if you don't have anything at the end of cardinal signs being Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. But if you do, this Chiron retrograde is going to be a continuation of a 3-part story. Part 2 coming at the end of 2026, part 3, the final part happening in the first part of 2027. I'm going to have Chiron go over my lot of fortune 3 times. So we'll see. We'll see what this does to my material resources, to my money, to any of my material health or wealth. We'll see what happens to my head and neck. Mostly the head in Aries. Aries is like the top part of the head, and then Taurus is the lower mandible and the neck. And I maintain also the cervical spine down into the shoulders. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So see what you got in there. My personal lot of Eros is at 25, and so it just misses it. But Saturn gets them 3 times later. So we'll it's like, well, at least they both don't do the 3-parter. Yeah, because okay, transits, if a planet's just moving, it's only going to cross over a natal thing 1 time. If a planet is going retrograde, and they might go over the same natal thing in your birth chart 3 times. And then you have a 3-part story on your hands. Okay, yay, Chiron. That's happening. And then on the 3rd, we have the moon getting into Aries and in a nice trine with the Leo planets. So every time the moon enters Aries, it gets to have this really delightful conversation with a very encouraging, enthusiastic pair of planets. A very stabilizing, supporting pair of planets. So August 2nd and the 3rd, we're going to have that nice energy where things go a little bit easier or a little bit more comfortable. But then more closer to on the 4th, later on the 3rd into the 4th, then we've got the moon with Saturn. So this is my first don't hand in your applications. Specifically, try not to hand in applications or requests after 12 p.m. on August 3rd. This is when the application of the moon to Saturn starts. So don't hand in any requests, job, education, money, applications, anything you have to apply for. Do it before noon on the 3rd. And then on the 4th, the moon is going to be squaring Pluto. So also not super comfortable on the 4th. And then the vibe improves after 4 p.m. Central Time on the 4th. Oh, nope, I lied. No, that's when it starts. The vibes are not great on the 4th. The vibes improve on the 5th at around noon Central Time. So then we're going to get the moon past this square with Pluto. If I said square with Saturn earlier, I meant Pluto. And then they're going to have a better time. So August 4th and the morning of August 5th, but vibes improve on August 5th afternoon Central Time. Then we have the Sun trining Saturn, which I don't know. I'm kind of interested if this, how constructive this is going to be, because this is a harmonious aspect. We've got two planets that are sect mates. The Sun is in a really good condition. They're very able to support Saturn, who's over in their sign of exaltation. Aries is a place that the Sun loves. So the Sun sees Saturn over here and they're like, oh my gosh, you're in my vacation home. You're in my beachfront property. And Saturn's like, wow, I hate the beach. This is way too hot here, but thanks. And so Saturn is not like this super receptive, willing, like participant in this relationship. They're not in good condition. They are dehydrated, they are hot, and they have a sunburn. And yet they've got Sun and Jupiter on the 5th of August into the 6th, encouraging, supporting, very enthusiastic for Saturn. So then that makes me think like around the 4th, 5th, 6th, is it like where there's some help, there's some resourcing around that we're reluctant to use, that we're reluctant to take? Are we offering help to someone that they are reluctant to receive? Are we trying to help someone and they're not able to receive our help for some reason? So there's all kinds of ways that this, what is mostly a helpful relationship, there's a little catch to it. And it's because Saturn is in such tough shape. But I think overall it's going to be a constructive thing on the 5th, 6th. So look for areas where, like, especially in your Aries place, look to the house topics and Aries in your chart. For me, it's my 3rd, so I'll just pick on communication. If I need help with something in communication and I have someone in my Leo place that's offering me help, you know, and I might have a certain feeling about it, maybe I should take the help anyway, you know? So let's see what that's like. But I think for the most part, like, yeah, it's a coming together of two sect mates, Sun and Saturn. I know they're very different, but they have some things in common. They rule fixed signs. They have a hand in order. Sun is the middle, the center. Saturn is the edge and the outside and the border. You need both, you know? So they are very complementary. And here we're getting two very different but very complementary energies working together. So, uh, not bad. Then we get Venus entering Libra on the 6th. So let's talk about Venus entering into the basket. And actually, okay, one cute little elections thing. So, like, I did really like August 5th. I'd mentioned, like, I like a lot of things in the sky in August, but the eclipses kind of scared me away a little bit. Uh, but when Venus is right at the end, like, I know, you know, instinct would say, well, let's wait till they get into Libra because they'll be in even better condition. And like where I would usually do that, I do like this little moment that we have on August 6th, where we've got the moon exalted in a Venus's sign, connecting with Venus, really being received by Venus in this trine, and also Mercury involved, who rules Venus. So there's like this three-way chain of command, chain of hospitality, actually. Um, these planets are having guest host relationships. And this looked really nice. So yeah, August 6th, I really like the moon, Mercury, Venus, sextiles, trines. It looks August 6th, maybe a nice time for writing, communicating, working on projects, collaborating, dealing with relationship and information, communication and information, making things that are really detail heavy, comprehensible to a layperson. That would be something nice to do with this. Uh, yeah, she looks really calm and slow and supportive. Neat. And then Venus moves into Libra. So, first things first, they're going to be meeting with Pluto and Neptune and Uranus, and they're in their power. So, Venus has agency. They're in their own home. They have all the ability to be as hospitable to themselves as they want to be. They're able to be max Venus, like very diplomatic, very able to be aware of the dynamics of a relationship and then act accordingly. Venus and Libra makes a contract, they make an agreement, they commit. They have Saturn as an exaltation lord who is really struggling. So it's interesting here that Venus and Saturn, they're not sect mates. They're not on the daytime, nighttime team same way. And yet, Venus and Saturn are kind of two groovy peas in a pod because Saturn and Libra get along. And Saturn and Libra get along, and Saturn and Venus stuff get along in some ways. So then you've got relationship, but that's very structured, agreed upon standards of operation in this relationship, contracts between people. If you're into tarot, we got the Three of Swords, betrayal, when those contracts are not honored. Austin Coppock, his 36 Decans work talks about that. So yeah, there's a lot of things here that are more than just like Venus, good at being charming and art and aesthetic and being good at like composing pictures, photos and thirds. They're really good at all that, and they'll be able to do that very well. And I like that because they're dealing with a bunch of stuff. And so I want Venus to be really strong, to be able to say they've got a lot of these strong influences coming at them, and yet they're very equipped to be able to say, here's my values, here's what's ethical to me, and this is how I'm going to respond. So the August 6th to the 11th, 12th, I kind of dig because we get Mars and Venus in a sign-based trine, degree-based square. It's a square by numbers, but by geometry in some ways, it is a trine. Because these, by affinity, really, not geometry, affinity. They're both air signs. Uh, they kind of have this elemental relationship where they're like two members of a community that are supporting each other. So August 6th through the 11th, maybe like intense for socialization, maybe busy for socialization, and yet successful, looking fine. I would do the socialization thingy. August 6th through August 12th. I think it's fine. This is very different from last month where I talked about a Venus-Pluto opposition. And I said, Venus-Pluto opposition, this is not when we date. This is not when we pick the hardest mode to fix our inner relationship wounds. That's not the time. However, Venus Pluto trine is the time. This is when you can go on a date, that's fine. Might even be a really impactful person, a relationship that is really important, uh, maybe intense, but maybe for all the right reasons. This is when I would go into healing, inner work, shadow work related to relationship and yourself or relationship with others, kind of that psychological spelunking around relationship. Also around values and ethics, more on a collective level. This is a good time to engage with all that. Really good time. If there's anything relationally heavy around ethics that's going on, which I think we can all very easily find those things. in our lives if we look enough. Uh, if there are power dynamics or power imbalances going on and you need help navigating any of that, August 6th through 11th, 12th is very good, I think, for that. So this is when I'll be, yeah, I think I just kind of miss out on this a little bit for my Q&A, but I'm going to try to do some nice things that week. It's not when I'm worried about Pluto stuff, when Venus is in a trine. It's not that there's not Plutonian themes of intensity or corrosiveness or complexity, but Venus is much more able in a trine to navigate said complexity or intensity. I'll take it. That trine perfects on the 10th. And then right after that, they go into their trine with Uranus. Nope. Neptune is next. So then they go into their opposition with Neptune. So, first half of August has this quality relationally where things could start off really hot and heavy or ephemerally amazing or like so good it's like transcendental. It's just like transcends like material experience. It's just like very like amazing spiritual relationship. Wow. So that kind of stuff could be going on with this. But then we have to remember that Venus is going to oppose Saturn, and that perfects on the 21st of August. And so then it's like, okay, well, this started off maybe very fast or suddenly or intensely, and now it's hitting its moment of seriousness or realness. It's like, oh, this is real. Whoa, this is serious. Whoa, slow down. Or the Saturn uh, reality check. The Neptunian rose-colored glasses come off that Venus is experiencing earlier in August. And then by the time we get to August 21st, those beer goggles are off, those rose-colored glasses are off, and we are seeing things exactly as they are. So, for all of its warts, limitations, and all. So, yes, there are themes about commitment, seriousness, being, really defining relational things. And it could also be, depending on the context, more of the cold bucket of water after a very dreamy time. Okay, so let's just remember that the first part of the month. Don't totally lose yourself in some kind of, passionate being swept up in a thing. Eclipses will do that too. Will sweep you up in a thing. Yeah, all this is happening on like the 10th and the 11th. So Venus perfects their trine with Pluto on the 10th, then Neptune opposition, and then trine with Uranus on the 11th. And yeah, it's a lot, but I don't know, I kind of like it in general, especially for short-term relationship stuff or short-term interpersonal work or uh, great for any kind of artistic stuff you want to do. No caveats there. Go for it. What I am a little like, if I did have a concern, my one hot take is betrothals. Because usually Libra time, especially Sun and or Venus in Libra time, is great for asking someone to marry you. Not great, technically, they wouldn't pick this, ancient Hellenistic astrologers wouldn't pick this for the wedding date, like the actual date of signing the legal document or having the ceremony, but they would pick a Libra thing for the betrothal. This is like, I wouldn't this year though. I mean, if you can avoid it. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to get married for like all kinds of reasons. At least if you're in the United States. And other places maybe too, but people don't just get married for love. People don't just get, it's not like everyone who decides to get married, they're like, "Oh, we just want to do it." Now, like, and for those people I'd be like, "Wait, just wait a year. What's another year? Wait till next year. Wait till after April of 2028 or something. We can get Saturn the heck out of here." Uh, but some people can't wait that long. And I'm not going to ask people to just not get married for 2 years, or not do any betrothals while Venus is in Libra, opposing Saturn for 2 years. And if you do get betrothed to, because also there's people who are astrology astute and they're dating people who don't know about astrology. Let's say your love of your life asks you to marry them and you're like in August and you're like, "Oh no." It's fine. It's fine. But I would definitely then make sure that the marriage ceremony and or when you sign the marriage license has a better sky than whatever this is. Yeah, that's my one hot take. Otherwise, it's fine. It's that trine with Pluto. And I guess one other very explicit warning: Neptune is confusion and uncertainty, and also deception. And Pluto is corruption. So, especially like August 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Very fun for a short time. Enjoy yourselves. Again, very like maybe beautiful, ephemeral, enjoyable experiences. Let them go though. It might not be forever. And if there are important or impactful things happening to you between August 6th and August 10th, uh, just double check stuff, like clarify if anything's confusing. If you're not confused, don't worry about it. Like, don't go looking for problems that aren't there. But if you're noticing like confusion or lack of clarity or lack of certainty on a thing, and you could just ask about it, then I would ask about it between August 6th and the 10th. Be extra clear, extra explicit about whatever agreements or arrangements that you're making with anyone for any reason. Over communicate days. Okay. I think that's that. And now I think that's all I have to say about Venus and Libra. It's the intellectual, thinky McThinkerson version of Venus. Very considerate, very socially aware, thinking about others. I'm not convinced that Libra is indecisive. I think they need way more time to make a decision. They can make decisions, but they are thinking about a bunch of different variables that other people are not thinking about. So if you are a Libra person and you feel indecisive, I think that starts to, that kind of language that astrologers use about indecisiveness. I've seen it create false stories in people that they start to say, I can't make decisions. I'm not good at making decisions. When it's not true. They're actually a beautiful decision maker. Just takes them like twice as long, 3 times as long because they're considering other people and other things and a bunch of shit. So, yay, Libra, love you. Libra season, Venus time. People say like X season because like the sun moves into a sign. I always catch myself doing it when a planet goes into their own sign. I'm like, oh yeah, sun and Leo, it's Leo season. Venus and Libra, it's Libra season. I know that's not the usual vernacular. Anyway, on the 7th, moving on. Oh yeah, I got my, of course, Charlie Barron's keep it moving, keep her moving, or op. We also have an op for mistakes. But right now we're doing the keep her moving. We're going to keep her moving to the 7th. On the 7th of August, we have Mercury reaching where it started this whole retrograde mess in the first place. We got our post-retrograde shadow completing, and now all of those Mercury retrograde stories should be behind you. And then we get a lunar benefic enclosure on the 7th. So we're going to get a Gemini moon. And it's actually going to be very early in Gemini. You're going to get a nice hug from Venus and Jupiter. So again, on the 7th, good vibes day. Go about your things. They should go better or be more comfortable. I also find one caveat. I don't like doing hard things as much personally. This could just be a me thing, but I don't love during a benefic enclosure when it's like the good vibes. I find myself not wanting to go to the gym. I'm like, I want to have a nice time in the sun and eat my snacks. But like during a malefic enclosure, when the moon is hugged between Mars and Saturn's rays, that's when I'm like, okay, I can be strong and tough and go do the strong thing. So it's not just like, ooh, benefic, good, malefic, bad. It's not that simple. And I am going to keep using those words. I'm not going to not use those words. I try to keep them on a session, but I'm using them here. So yeah, malefic enclosures are actually really good for going to the gym, in my opinion, or doing hard things. But yeah, August 7th looks like good, nice, kind of chill vibes. And that's going to be Central Time from 1:57 in the morning until 3:17 p.m. So all morning and all afternoon Central Time. And the good weather here is from Universal Time, 6:57 a.m. through 8:17 p.m. So most of your day. And then I'm sure in the more easterly time zones, this is going to stretch into the 8th, be later in the day in the 7th into the 8th. On August 9th, we have Mercury entering into Leo, and we're going to have that whole conversation. So, August 9th, we have Mercury entering the basket watch 2026. And now our words are getting supercharged, our ideas, plans, getting this energy of breakthrough, insight, inspiration, very impactful words, impactful ideas and expressions this mid-August. We got Mercury in charge of info and rationality and all the little details, and they're accompanied by Jupiter, who is the Lord of comprehensiveness and cohesion and making sure it all is together and here and making sense. And I love this combo. This looks really potent for any kind of intellectual, cognitive work you need to get done, any ideas or problem solving you need to get done. Mercury is even still direct at this point and like visible, or they're still visible, I mean, they're direct. So kind of a cool Mercury, honestly. Very expressive. Just making sure that when we're sharing ideas, words, thoughts, opinions, all of these mercurial things, and I think we will do it with a lot of goodwill with Jupiter around, but we might, it's that Plutonian. Is there something that's being twisted? Is there something corrosive about this or corrupt about this? Or perhaps the reception gets corrupted. So there's a little caveat always when Pluto is involved. But it also looks like a time to have potent conversations, impactful conversations. Uh, remember with Venus and Neptune here that we are clear. And with Pluto here adding complexity, that we keep it simple. So maybe the best advice for this is as we are trying to experience this outer planet energy in a constructive way, yeah, keeping it simple, keeping it clear. That is going to help really kind of head off any issues of Neptunian confusion or Plutonian complexity, over complexity that maybe not is not necessary. But yeah, we will continue to have then just a nice sextile. So, this is all the stuff I was like, wow, this looks so nice. And then I'm like, but the sun is moving toward Ketu, the south node. So eclipses, we're in eclipse time. So this is part of what I'm talking about when I say there's a lot of cool things in the sky this month that I'm kind of pumped about. And yeah, it's not all bad. It's just like if I'm gonna pick a wedding, it's not for that necessarily. Okay. So Mercury. Okay, here's a lot of exact datey time things. So Mercury is going to oppose Pluto on the 11th of August at 8:19 p.m. Central Time. So all day on the 9th and 10th and 11th, we're going to have Mercury opposing Pluto. We also might find ourselves getting a bit stuck intellectually on things around the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th of August. Did I just say? No, I've been doing this too long now. My mind is slipping. I'm like, did I just say October for some reason? If I did, I meant August. Like Mercury opposite Pluto this is where like trying to do Mercury things like, yeah, impactful conversations, transformative conversations, cool, great. But August 9th, 10th, 11th, not maybe when I would do a purchase, a really important, large purchase, like buying and selling under the auspices of Pluto, I don't love. So buying and selling purchases, caution, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah, so watch your words, watch your purposes, or your purchases. Um, if anyone's trying to be like coercive, persuasive, or manipulative, watch out for that. Hence the cautions about buying and selling. I think those are my concerns. But yeah, for everything I can find favorable, neutral, unfavorable, plenty of constructive stuff here, plenty of constructive potentials, as long as we're watching our ideas, our words, and relationally who those are landing on. And if our minds feel sticky or our minds are getting stuck on something, that's another Plutonian thing. It's like really hyper focus, but forget to have snacks, you know? So remember to have snacks mid-August. Mercury trines Neptune exactly on August 11th at 10:38 p.m. And then Mercury sextiles Uranus on the 12th of August at 3:47 p.m. And then by the 13th, this is when Mercury is going to start meeting the benefics and things should chill out a little bit. So we can get by the 13th, we've got Mercury having had all those outer planet conversations. And now they get to really hang out with like Venus and Jupiter. So the 13th of August, you know, in a lot of ways looks really nice. Did we have? Yeah, there's a void of course moon. But besides the void of course moon, I like the 13th. Mercury sextile Venus on the 13th at 11:22 in the morning Central Time. So, powerful, potent time with words, conversations, ideas. And when we start to add Venus and oppositions, yeah, it's relational. It could be a really potent time artistically and creatively for people. Uh, so, yeah, set yourself up for success. Look at the parts of your chart. Grab your buddy system. Is Mercury a Time Lord for you? If Mercury is a Time Lord, there's more here for you to notice. If Mercury is not your Time Lord, then you might not notice these things as much. You might not be like having important or impactful conversations. You might not be having this artistic creative boon. It might just be kind of a nothing burger. But yeah, if Mercury is a Time Lord, watch this one. If Venus is a Time Lord, watch mid-August. Those two planets are doing a lot of things. I gotta back up though. Um, we got some meteor showers. We got Perseid meteor showers on the 12th and 13th. So go outside, everybody. Go outside on August 12th and 13th if you've got visibility and go look at the sky because there's going to be a bunch of shooting stars. And you can make a bunch of wishes. Side note, restful digression. Give my brain a rest here for a second. Uh, I found a cardinal feather out in my yard this week, like a tiny, teeny, tiny little red feather, and I made a wish on it. Just wanted to let everybody know that. I've never found a cardinal feather. It was really cool. Okay, wow, what a nice rest. Let's actually see if anyone has any words in the chat, and we'll get on with the rest of the month. Thanks for the comments, everybody. Appreciate it. Yeah, we got a Libra who can make decisions. Amazing. Uh, someone called me based. Astro Counterpoint is calling me based. What does that mean again? I know it's not good. About me using the word malefic. I don't know. I don't know. I'm old. I don't know what the slingity slang is. Uh, yeah, we need more pro Libra decision making. uh, Someone asked a really great question. Is an Aquarius Saturn time lord any different than a Capricorn one? So the difference that you'll find both profection years, you're going to get Saturn as a time lord. So you'll get Saturn themes in both Aquarius and Capricorn years. Um, the big difference is going to be that not only do the planetary themes come up, but also the sign themes. So you will see during your Capricorn year that more Capricorn Saturn things come up. So more Earth kind of symbolism. If you use the deck and correspondences, bring in the Pentacle cards versus Aquarius, you're going to get that symbolism, more technology, intangible systems and structures, your thought systems, those types of Aquarian things will come up during an Aquarius year. Saturn is going to be the same, though. Excellent question. Okay. Think. Thank you for the comments, everybody. I think I'm caught up. I don't know if you can make wishes on a bird feather, but it felt correct. And getting another really good question in here. Yeah, interesting pattern we have this month. And this is something that this is not the first time this has happened. I've been noticing this with other eclipses too, like the ones we had in 2023 and 2024. There was this thing too where there's the void moon right around the eclipse, and you get both of them. Uh, let's talk about it. Because yeah, I do have thoughts about that. And that is pattern. So let's look at the day before of the actual eclipse. So the day before the void moon. Let's talk about this eclipse, and then we'll talk about the void moon that comes right after it. Shoot, I gotta talk about Mars and Cancer. Okay, hold that note. Hold that. We're gonna get there in 2 or 3 more August days. But before we talk about that, I mentioned the Perseid meteor showers on the 12th and the 13th of August, so watch those Perseid meteor showers. Um, we've talked about Mars moving into Cancer. Um, okay. Yes, I said all my Venus things. So on the 11th, Mars is moving into Cancer at 3:30 in the morning Central Time. And for a few hours, the moon is there to greet them, saying, "Hello, Mars, you're in my place." And despite Moon and Mars being sect-mates, they're both nighttime planets. Mars is not built for Cancer. Cancer is not built for Mars in a lot of ways. Mars likes water, actually. They like water signs. They have triplicity dignity in water signs. But there's an incongruency in a lot of things. Mars, their nature, hot, pointy, not careful. It will be brave and take risks. Very different than Cancer. Cool, slow, soft, safe, not taking risks, doing safe things, calculated risks, if you will. So, what happens when Mars gets in here and they're like, hey, let's effing go? And Moon is like, that's not how we do it here, bud. And so there's this kind of, mm. And yet, of course, we can see Mars doing all kinds of cool stuff in a water sign. We can see Mars doing beautiful like advocacy work in Cancer. If we think about Cancer being that awareness of mortality, that awareness of the vulnerability of life, how easily death can happen, and all of the things we need to do to protect that thing that's growing. That's all very Cancer. Mars is kind of the perfect person to employ in protection or to employ in, yeah, protection, keeping guard. So we can get Mars in Cancer and people with Mars in Cancer in their birth chart being great at advocacy. Now, conflict is not comfortable for Mars in Cancer. Just because conflict is uncomfortable doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who feel that discomfort and then do it anyway and are so good at it. And I have found more than one Mars in Cancer person who has, not to say they haven't had challenges getting in there or getting to that place, but have become great diplomatic, just great interpersonal people. Um, yeah, I say those things because I don't want anyone to feel bad for having Mars in Cancer. And also, I want to validate if your Mars is not Marsing in your birth chart the way that it should, and it's in Cancer. Yeah, it's because Mars is not as resourced and supportive. They're supposed to have a sword and a shield, and they've been given a shovel and like a pair of gloves to go weeding in the garden or something. So they've been given, a baby and a bassinet to take care of. Notice that I didn't say basket. I said basket. Everyone take a shot. Okay. So Mars is going to be in Cancer. Here's what's really like my main problem with it, if I have one. It's this. It's that now all of my cardinal rising signs are not a thing for elections. If I want to have a cardinal rising, not in mid-August. So, yeah, that's why let's enjoy like August 6th to 11th because we get Venus only encumbered by one of the intense planets. Now we're getting Venus after the 11th encumbered by two intense planets that are making Venus's time here in Libra not our usual Venus and Libra time. So they're dealing with some energies. Now they're again really resourced to do that, but dealing with things nonetheless. Um, Mars Neptune square. So starting off on my spectrum, unfavorable, making assumptions, jump into conclusions, and taking actions that are inappropriate, ineffective, or harmful. Neutral to positive, being very inspired, feeling very spiritually motivated, feeling motivated to advocate for yourself or others based on this very like one love transcendental vibe. That would be beautiful. Just make sure you have all your facts straight first. Make sure that there isn't some adjustment or amendment to your plan that isn't needed. But really, like, we're looking at August 11th through, I like to get 3 degrees between them. Actually, about the 21st, same time that Venus starts to separate from Saturn. That's when we're done with some of these Mars Neptune dregs. But really, mid-August, we want to not jump to conclusions, make space for confusion, lack of clarity before acting. Our motivations might not be clear. Make sure your motivations are clear and correct before you proceed. And if we do that, we can do some really great, inspired, visionary type of actions or efforts. Um, Mars is going to be in Cancer from the 11th until September 27th. So they'll be in there for about 6 weeks, but only 6 weeks. They're not doing a retrograde there. If you are someone who's born in the daytime, so if you were born in your birth chart, the sun is above the horizon, above that ascendant descendant axes, be extra careful during August 11th through September 27th around injury, inflammation, or conflict. These things are going to be hotter for day charts. Doing Mars stuff might go better after the sun sets. So wait till the sun sets. Mars stuff might be a little less hot potato after the sun sets between August 11th and September 27th. Especially if you're a day chart, you can use that to help take the edge off a little bit. Wherever Cancer is in your house or in your chart, whatever the house topics are of Cancer in your birth chart, you might be just putting in more effort into that area of life. So if you're like an Aries rising, Cancer is your fourth house, you're going to be extra focused on your home, family, parents, ancestry, intergenerational stuff, blah, blah, blah. I've got Cancer in my sixth. I'm going to be extra focused on labor, health, animals, avoiding injury, avoiding inflammation. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing. So look at the house topics. Ask yourself the Time Lord question. Is Mars a Time Lord for you? If no, threat assessment goes way down. Don't need to worry nearly as much. If Cancer, if Moon is not a Time Lord for you, don't have to worry about this as much. If Mars or Moon or Cancer are important activated things for you this year, you will really want to watch Mars in there then. They finish the exact square with Neptune and Mars. It finishes on the 18th, but the dregs, we get the dregs. I like to have like 3 degrees separating between the planets before I consider it kind of like, okay, all clear, which again is more around the 21st. But it starts to improve around the 18th. At least our decisions will be more clear after the 18th. Speaking of decision making, Mars square Neptune is not great for decision making. It's actually kind of dangerous. So just be clear about your decisions, that you have all the correct information before proceeding between especially August 11th and the 18th. But I'm going to say August 11th to like the 21st. Okay. Yeah. And we really get the lead up now to the eclipse. So we're in eclipse lead up time on the 12th. So we got Mars in Cancer. We got the moon welcoming Mars in. And then a few hours later, they go into Leo and they start this eclipse process. And look at this full house we have here. We've got Mercury in here, Jupiter in here. And that's who the moon meets first. So the moon is going to see what they've been up to. And then we get our new moon, which is also a solar eclipse because it is happening within 18 degrees of south node of Ketu. So this is happening in the last, let me go to it before I say it. Yeah, just by the hair of my chin. It is the last decan by literally an arc minute, 2 arc minutes. So we've got a third decan of Leo eclipse, and this is the Mars decan. And I think is it the Mars bound? No, it's a Mercury bound. Interesting. So Mercury has a little special role here in this eclipse. And so let's really like journal, diary, write down what comes around August 12th. This is a resetting, a restart, great beginnings and endings. Every new moon is a beginning and an ending, but this one is a great beginning, a great ending of some kind. And in Leo, I like to think about actions and behaviors that we do very consistently or for a long time. And so this could be an eclipse that's kind of a reset button on a really long held behavior, a long held loyalty, which I think loyalty, it's like we're behaving towards someone the same, like fire. Fire is action and doing. You're the same toward that person. That's loyalty. Could be a reset button on that. Could be a reset button on anything, like any efforts, especially thinking about the decan and the tarot correspondences and the Seven of Wands. What are we trying to keep up? Like, what if you've had something that's been going? This is the part of the sky that has to do with maintaining it. How do we keep it going? How do I won the Six of Wands. We did it. We made it. Leo, I'm the paragon. I'm the best version. Then what? how do I keep it going? How do I keep being the best version? How do I keep this ship afloat? So that is the concern here. So I was thinking with this eclipse, some questions that we could ask ourselves might be, what can we stop doing or start doing to better advocate for ourselves or others? So thinking about that Mars part of this sign, Mars advocating for ourselves and others. It's the fighting of the Seven of Wands. You know, five and the Seven of Wands, they both have like this fighting kind of efforting energy. So we can put that effort toward ourselves or toward others. How are we going to start a new initiative of that or wrap one up? How can we, or what are we starting or stopping in terms of expressing ourselves? What means of expression are coming to their natural conclusion? What modes of expression are starting to unfurl and come forth? And then also a reset button for identities and roles. What identities or roles still ring true for us? What identities no longer fit or are starting to feel a little outdated or not quite fitting right and needing an upgrade? So we've got looking at beginnings and endings around what are we keeping going? What efforts are we doing to keep this thing going? Or what efforts that have we been doing to keep this thing going that we're going to stop doing? How can we start or advocate for ourselves differently or for others differently? What are we going to start or stop doing to express ourselves? Or what identities or roles still feel true to us? What identities or roles feel outdated? So those were some of the thoughts that I was having about this eclipse. And of course, look at the house topics. Mine's in my seventh. It's going to be about relationships and partnerships and things like that, and clients. If Leo is your ninth house, it might be your belief system that's getting an update. So look at that. And then also look at the little links I have below. I did share the astronomy details from timeanddate.com. It's a nice kind of utilitarian website. It gives you the information you need. And so the solar eclipse, it happens on the 12th at 12:36 p.m. Central Time. That'll be 5:36 p.m. Universal Time. As far as who can see it, so Spain, Iceland, and Greenland will have the best view of this eclipse. I might, maybe like the very northern part of Canada. Let me actually, I can just show you. This is the this is the map. So as we can see, the path of the eclipse, Greenland, Spain, Iceland, they're going to have the best, most like full view of the eclipse. But even like all of this, part of Africa, like the northern, northwest Asia, they can all see it. So they'll be able to see at least a little bit of it. I might get a tiny partial kind of, maybe a sliver of the sun we'll get, but we'll get occulted. But actually, big update. I got glasses. I got glasses. Deal with it. Oh my God. And they even have the dates on there. So yeah, I thought I'm excited. I've just been using a box, the box that they made us make in grade school with the hole, and then you put the piece of paper and you look through. Yeah, I've been doing that this whole time. So direct viewing. I'll have finally direct viewing. But that's who can see it. So get out there if you're not scared or are okay with being under the baleful rays. I know some people's astrological magic practices do not allow them to be under the baleful rays. I will be covering my altar. But apparently I don't value myself as highly. I want to go see it, so I'll be out there. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm gonna get to Tara's question about what about a void moon though? So it's interesting because eclipses are very high energy. Eclipses are unstable events. I don't generally recommend doing things is fine. Starting things, beginning brand new things. This is not the new moon where I would generally do that unless you want it to go on like a 6-month clock. So, like one time I asked for an election from an astrologer, and they gave me one of the two options they gave me was for an eclipse. And I didn't end up using it because it kind of frightened me a little bit. But the idea was that, like, if I did use that election to start a new thing or to end a thing, uh, that it would really cut it off. Like, that would be the end. And if it's a beginning, it's a big, important beginning. So just make sure whatever you are beginning here that you want it to live on this 6-month eclipse clock, where every 6 months you're kind of getting the update on that story. This is the Bjork rave eclipse. Bjork's having a rave. Jealous. I would love to be there. I approve of it. I hope everyone has a good time. Because this is just like very unafflicted. Like, look at it. We got awesome Venus. We got Jupiter. Um, Mars can't see. Saturn can only see by a trine. I know Pluto is opposing, but all these planets have moved away, like they're all separating from Pluto. It's a, relatively like, I don't know what word to use. It's still unstable. It's still highly energetic, and it's like not giving red flags. I don't feel red flaggy about it. I'm not like concerned. And it's an eclipse. Okay. A void moon comes right after. A void moon means the moon is not interacting with anything. So they're going from having a lot of intense, high energy interactions here uh, to then after this, they just go into a void. Like they're not really like they meet Mars. So let me clarify that. They do a little interaction with Mars and then they go void for like 3 days. So this is one of the big Hellenistic grade void of course moons, and this is specifically from August 13th, Universal Time, 12:43 p.m. So about noon Universal Time until August 15th at 7:36 p.m. Universal Time. Uh, I didn't put the Central Time. That's fine. It's in the morning. August 13th in the morning to August 15th at around 2 p.m. So Central Time. And void of course moons in the old farmer almanacs, this was the time where you don't hunt, you don't plant, you don't go fishing because you're not going to catch a fish. Your plant's not going to grow. Your seed won't sprout. Like it's about, again, beginning things, starting things. This is not a time to start things. So don't start it during an eclipse. Don't start it during a void moon. The idea is that nothing will come of it. This is used strategically. Some people strategically do things on void of course moons so that nothing will come of it. My classic example is in my own head is if like my mother-in-law or whatever wants to have lunch with me and I don't want to or something. I'll have the conversation during a void of course moon. Nothing will come of it, or we will get lunch and it'll be uneventful. Nothing will come of it. That can be a good thing. But for most of us, we're trying to start stuff, start projects, get stuff done, call my mechanic, get my car fixed, we want it to work out. We want something to come of it. So then the message, the practical message here from really August 12th through the 15th, it is not a good time to start stuff. And especially August 13th and 14th. That's when the void of course moon is the strongest. And so it's kind of a nothing burger. Also, the moon it's in a malefic enclosure as well. It's in this void, and then it's not really an enclosure technically because it's too wide. It's not like the moon is being touched 7 degrees by some planet over here and then 7 degrees by some planet over here. The moon, it's too wide, but the thing that the moon is moving in between is some Mars stuff, and then it has a void, and then it runs into Mars again. So it's like this eclipse and then like a Mars void Mars sandwich. I don't know. So I'm just going to focus on stuff I usually do regularly, like very familiar things. And like the big thing here is we're talking about, oh, nothing will come of it, nothing will come of it in the material world. Like in this materialist world where I have to like pay bills and get stuff done and talk to people. Um, that's the stuff that's not going to amount to anything. It's like unprofitable weather. Now, if you live beyond the capitalistic hellscape, whatever, and you're like a spiritual person, or you do things that you just do it for fun, and like you don't do it for any reason. Like one time I made an art project just for fun, my cranberry mudeng. No one liked it. It didn't do anything, but I really enjoyed it. Perfect void of moon, perfect void moon activities, just doing things that are fun and restful and rejuvenating and spiritual and immaterial, like focused. And then if nothing comes of it, who cares? It doesn't matter. That wasn't the point to begin with. So, yeah, I would say kind of anti-election, like when not to do stuff, not to start stuff. I mean, I shouldn't say do, it's start. Start stuff. The 12th or the 13th, not the day to begin. Just chill. Just take care of yourself. So the 15th is interesting because we have a nice little time in the early morning on the 15th. And then I think the vibes deteriorate again a little bit. But there is a nice little morning on the 15th. Like the moon sextiles Jupiter at 4:02 a.m. Central Time. And then Mercury conjoins Jupiter. It's like right, let me show you. Or no, I have this written on the wrong, or no, that is on the right day. Yeah, it's a sextile. On the 15th, this is what I'm talking about. The moon has this nice little moment of a sextile. So it gets done with the eclipse, it gets done with the void moon that it's going to have when it's moving through Virgo. And then it has a nice time. Just in the morning on the 15th, looks kind of nice. The moon interacts with benefics, yay. And again, that's like really early Central Time. That's like 4, 5, 6 a.m. Central Time. That's going to be closer to noon, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon Universal Time on the 15th. That's a nice little vibe window. Um, cool. But then, yeah, the Mars Neptune stuff is just really hot as well at that same time. So we are, even though there's that nice little blip on the morning of the 15th, we're still not making assumptions. We're still asking questions, going slow, not jumping to conclusions, making sure our motivations, actions, and decisions are well informed. That clears up. Oh boy. Well, we know that the Mars Neptune stuff doesn't clear up for another few days. But the moon, that has to that has to interact with that during this time as well. So there's some nice notes. There's a lot of like constructive info, conversations, collaboration, like just going about your day. Fine. Even if the vibes are good, like just still keep your head on a swivel, which just is my colloquial way of saying pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on around you. If there's shenanigans, yeah, that could happen too on the 15th. Uh, yeah, Venus sextile, Jupiter, that's happening. That's so nice. So a lot of goodwill and friendship coming together with relationship. Goodwill and friendship coming together with ethics, values, collaboration. So that's another connection. We got the Mercury-Venus connection, the Mercury-Jupiter connection, and the Venus-Jupiter connection, all working together really well on the 15th. So yeah, very mixed bag. Very, very, very mixed bag. Mixed quality. Um, I wanted to say this whole thing about Venus's max elongation, but like I think I have to skip it for the purposes of time. But around mid-August, Venus gets as far away longitudinally from the sun. Yeah, east and west. They get as far away from the sun as they're going to get, which is like 40 some degrees. So, yeah, this is the furthest away that Venus is going to get from the sun. And then they're going to start to slow down. And then we'll see as September turns into October, Venus will station retrograde and then start moving back into the sun. And the sun and Venus will get closer and closer and closer. But right now is just almost like the story before that story. So the max elongation of Venus, we are not at all to their retrograde story yet. This is the lead up, the prior story to that. It's as far away from the sun as they'll get. But I'm not going to say all the symbolism about it. So apologies if anyone wanted that. I think it's too long. Okay, on the 16th, we have a lunar benefic enclosure. So a nice tiny little window for something to feel easeful or to go better or to be more easy. August 16th, 2:10 a.m. Central Time until 4:02 a.m. Central Time. So the wee hours. That is Universal Time, August 16th from 7:10 a.m. to 9:02 a.m. So it's short 2-hour little window, but it is a nice one. And that is on the 16th. And that's that Libra moon. That will have, yeah, it's when the moon's at 10 and it's like right with those two. So for most of the world, we'll be asleep. For the more easterly time zones on the 16th, you will be able to use the good vibes better because this will actually be more during your day, unless you're third shift. So, yeah, like here's the thing though, with the handing in applications. Normally I'd be like, wow, what a good time to hand in an application when we've got the moon snuggled between the rays of Venus and Jupiter. Great. But then right after that, they run into Saturn. So it's kind of like I care about the election. I care about when people hand something in, but I also am always thinking about what's happening right after that. And it's like, okay, you hand in your request, you hand in your application on the 15th, and then it lands in front of the person deciding on the next day when the moon is opposite Saturn. I don't really want that either. So, did I write? Yeah, on the 16th after 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Then you're in the clear. So not the 15th. Don't hand in applications on the 15th. The 16th is okay after 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Then you're good. Around late August, we should be again starting to be able to see Jupiter in the morning sky before the sun rises. On the 17th, the Mars-Neptune square perfects. And again, I know 17th, 18th, but the dregs, I keep getting burned by configurations after they have separated. But when it's still really close within a few degrees, I call it the dregs. That's what I'm calling it. But yeah, it gives us a little more wiggle room. And again, that's like Mars, Neptune stuff really cleared by more like August 20th, 21st. So we are continuing through most of August to be direct, clear, explicit. And then we get the moon entering into Scorpio on 18th. And while we have Mars in Cancer here, if we have a Scorpio or an Aries moon, we get ourselves a mutual reception. So whereas usually I'd be like, darn, the moon in Scorpio, unable to moon as good as they usually might, harder to get our needs and safety and all of those really important things, harder to have those met as we might like them. And that's not usually favorable. However, when Mars and Moon are like this and they're in each other's signs, the Moon is in Mars's sign, Mars is in the Moon sign. They're like two friends in each other's homes that got each other on speed dial, and they're able to kind of help each other out. And pretty soon, this interaction is like being way more fruitful and constructive than it might have been otherwise. Uh, I didn't see any NASA activity plan, but the last couple of these that we've had, Mars Moon mutual receptions, were when NASA was having successful re-entries. There was like two of these. There was a Mars Moon mutual reception during two NASA trips, either there or back. Maybe they were both coming. I think they were both coming back, the return mission. And they both went well. Very effective. No one died. Great. Or no one got injured either. Like, it was really, really successful. So we can have a lot of efficacy, success, more favorable outcomes than we might think otherwise when we have something like this. So I'm curious to see if this Scorpio moon will be a little better than usual. Mhm. And then Venus-Saturn opposition really heating up by mid-August, perfecting on August 22nd. So, we've gotten through the Neptune-Mars possible jumpings to conclusions or not having all the information straight. Hopefully now that's resolved because Venus-Saturn opposition can be a tougher time for relationships and relating. It can be a time of a lot of high standards, hard work, commitment, seriousness in relationship. Maybe you and your partner's best friends are going through more serious or difficult things together. If you have clients, maybe your clients are going through difficult things, or yeah, any kind of trying to hold space for what might not be going well in relationship, what we might be feeling a little extra critical about that might be going on. So just being extra kind to yourself, knowing that August like 18th through the 21st, again, beer goggles, rose-colored glasses have come off. Reality is here. If there was something really fun, ephemeral, cool, sexy going on the first part of August, now the reality is set in. Now the hard work is here. Now the commitment is here. What is going to endure of this? So some favorable, constructive things that we can hear in there. Also, maybe some challenges, some hiccups, obstacles, criticisms, particularly about relationship relating. This might be some stuff that's happening on the inside that we're contemplating internally. Might not come out into the external world, but notice if it does. And sometimes it can be, I've noticed, Venus, Saturn coming together, it can be that kind of critical eye on relationship, that discerning eye, like, is this good enough? Is this meeting standards? That kind of introspection, yeah, it gets put inward as introspection. And you can be hard on yourself, like, have I done enough? Am I enough? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Like all those Saturn-y kind of doubts around relationships. That could be going on. It's temporary. It starts to clear up on the 21st. So just know that as you're dealing with loved ones, that kind of curious how we'll feel more the last week of August in some ways. Now there is on the 21st, that starts to separate, but it's still really quite strong still till like the 22nd, 23rd, at which point we've got the moon and Mars coming into an opposition. But there's some things about this where I'm like, I wonder if this actually is mitigated in an interesting way, because this could be a mind your own business day. And I think I will say August 22nd, 23rd, mind your own business day, probably. And yeah, probably a mind your own business day. I have three mitigations. So first mitigation, um, Venus sees Saturn and Saturn exalts in their place. They're like, hey, buddy, what are you doing over there? You're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be over here. Like, you are not doing well over there. And Saturn's like, yeah, I am not doing well. Can you please help me? And Venus is like, yes, I will. And they are trying their hardest to help Saturn. There's a lot of sympathy here. And it's not easy for Venus to help Saturn because they're in this place they're not familiar with. It's like if someone's calling you from a place you've never been, asking you for instructions or directions. It's like, I don't know how to get there. I've never been there, but I love you. So, that's a mitigation in this opposition. It makes it work a little or function a little more softly or less with aches and pains. Uh, Next mitigation. Moon and Mars are at very different declinations. So, like, Mars is really high in the sky and the moon is really low. So, like, they're they're kind of having this opposition, but on the other plane, they're missing each other. Let me show you with numbers what I mean. So we've got that out of bounds Mars, and we also have out of bounds moon. The moon is not out of bounds for as long. Like Mars is out of bounds all month. Uh, but the moon is as well, and in the opposite direction though, southerly versus northerly. So they're kind of like not as strongly connected, even in an exact opposition on the other plane that we're usually working with. Long story short, maybe it's not as intense of a Moon-Mars opposition as we usually have. Maybe it's not as intense. Maybe we'll see if it's not as loud for that reason. Final mitigation, a bit of a mixed mutual reception that I'm not sure if it counts, probably depends on who you ask, but the Moon and Mars see each other in their domicile or exaltation. And so maybe again, this is a more working relationship than we realize. So Moon sees Mars in their sign. Mars sees the moon and is like, hey, you're in my exaltation place. I love it there. And they're able to help each other out. So I'm not convinced this is like the worst Moon Mars opposition. So kind of a mind your own business day on the 22nd, 23rd, but I don't know. Might not be as because you're seeing the Grand Cross. Anytime there's a Grand Cross like that, two oppositions, a bunch of four squares, it's like potent, intense kind of energy. It's loud. Whatever that is, it's loud. That. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's not like the most intense version of whatever that is. Uh, oh yeah, I had mentioned with the Venus-Saturn opposition, how do we hold people accountable without becoming a hypocrite? Kind of like, how do I ask for improvement, ask for people to improve without becoming a police officer? Like, how do we balance accountability with not turning into the thing that we hate? That's an interesting Venus-Saturn opposition question. Unconditional good rapport meets the under-resourced or under-happy person. Saturn is under-resourced. They are not happy. Someone is not happy. Someone is not taken care of. And Venus is over here doing their best, doing 10 out of 10 work and trying to take care of them. And the other person might be like at the end, but Venus is really like unconditional good rapport being given towards Saturn. Very interesting dynamic. Sense of urgency. How do we balance a sense of urgency with the need for care or carefulness? Libra, Aries kind of thing. How do we prioritize which one of those is most important in a situation? Is it the urgency that's most important, Aries, or is it the accuracy, efficacy, safety? More like Libra, Virgo kind of stuff. So mid-August kind of, yeah, we'll have to cost benefit analysis that. Like, what do I need to prioritize more, getting it done quick or getting it done well? Sometimes you have to choose getting it done quick. Um, okay. And then backing up a little bit, I want to talk about Mercury and Sun and their journey through the South Node into Virgo. But before I do that little jaunt, let's see how the chat is doing. And PS, like, of course, I never expect anyone to be here for like the whole thing. So definitely don't feel like you have to stay here, but I appreciate everybody who is. Oh, is someone doing something during the void of course moon? Mm, you have a date on the you have a date on the first eclipse and potentially also on the second eclipse, which would, yes. Okay, this is fine. It's fine. If I was going to pick some eclipses to do a date on, these are the ones. These are the ones. So, okay, this really fits with the story. There's a few options, and this is why it's so important to look at your context of your life. So, if you are dating and we know that the month is starting off with this just like really beautiful energy. I love this is kind of fun. I don't know. I'm excited about it. The benefics, the luminaries, the outers, first half of August. Just like very potent, creative kind of vibes there, breakthrough energy, insights. Wow, great, we're learning. And again, the kind of halfway through the month, things start to get a little different. They get more serious. So, and then we get to the end of the month, and then Mars and Saturn need a little bit of adjustment. So, I mean, yeah, like there's so many options for how that story could go. I can think of, it working out, being neutral or not. But yeah, if I was gonna pick, some eclipses to deal with for dating, these would be the ones. The Bjork Rave eclipse that is unafflicted. Yes, it's fine. And I had one married couple that I've run into that I've used as an example before in previous forecasts and Q&As because I've only seen it once. But it was someone who got married on an eclipse and they were married for like 30 years, at that point. Like they were married the whole time. They hadn't gotten divorced yet. But they did see like the events in their marriage 6-month clock. Not every single eclipse probably, but things that begin on that clock will go by that clock then, for better, neutral, and worse. It is what it is. So I wouldn't cancel the date. I wouldn't do that. I would just, yeah, have fun. Have fun. Pretend like you're at the Bjork rave in Iceland. Yeah, I'm not worried. And then is the other one is a little bit more interesting. I'm gonna say that the other eclipse, again, because we don't have the hard aspects from Saturn or Mars, that makes me feel a little better about it. So even the second eclipse, it's not like my most ominous, icky one at all. It's pretty okay. Uh, And I also love to see when planets that are involved in the eclipses have the domicile lord around. For the Leo eclipse on the 12th, we've got the sun there. For the Pisces eclipse on the 27th, 28th, we've got Mercury at least on one of the angles. So there's at least one planet that has their shit together. So yeah, good luck. Have fun. Venus Pluto trine, not a square. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you for sharing. That's very fun. Okay. Yeah, or buying a house. That's another big deal to do during things where I would want to make sure the astrology was good. Yeah. Or if the astrology is not great, then that helps inform the house buying process. Like I talk to people about house buying processes all the time. It's actually a very common set of questions I get from clients. And if there's Neptune stuff happening, like Saturn was with Neptune for like a year and a half, 2 years, every time it came up, and Saturn was implicated in home buying for somebody, I've been like, don't skip the inspection. You cannot skip the inspection. So even if it's not good weather, it's still informative and can help us to navigate in, it's just like meteorology. If we're going to go out sailing in the ocean, we have to have the weather person telling us moment to moment, like kind of how to navigate. So that's what we're doing here. And sometimes you have to sail when the weather is not perfect. That happens. Yeah, and like someone's saying that they've given up on dating. My astrologer told me I could meet a new partner next summer through a work situation, but I just don't trust it. Um, yeah, I operate like meteorology. I can tell people here's a good patch of time where your chances of success are higher or lower. When is the wind at your back? When are you going to have a better chance? That is an entirely different thing than predicting you will have success. Like you will meet someone during this period of time. I'm not a powerful enough wizard. Um, you could meet a new partner during this time, like your astrologer was saying. You could, there's like the weather there. You still have to get off, you still have to go out of your house, take a risk, have a scary first date if it's scary for you. Um, you still have to do all that. Like astrology does not preclude you from having to do all the legwork and go through all the emotions that happen. But astrology will at least say if the astrologer is doing a good job, they will be able to say, well, it is time to set sail. They can either say it's not time to set sail, or if you do, your ship's going to get wrecked. Or they can say, the water looks fine. Go out there. It's still up to you. Like you don't have to do it. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of how I conceptualize stuff like that and philosophize around it because I don't think that like I can say with 100% certainty and clarity that this thing will happen at this time. That's not how I feel like astrology works for me. There's horary astrology, Horary, horary astrology. That's your binary question, black and white question answer type of astrology. That's the one where you're like, will we or won't we? Or if you give it a timeline, will I meet someone this summer? You have to ask specifically, will I meet someone during this chunk of time? And then the horary question will say yes or no. That's how you, but yeah, that's a different type of astrology. So, digression, but maybe a helpful one, hopefully. Good luck. Let's see. So many good comments. Thank you, everyone. Oh, we got someone inheriting something with Jupiter in the eighth. Yes, that's a classic. Okay, good. I'm glad your astrologer was giving you meteorology. Yeah, yeah, it's just meteorology. So if you're not like feeling it for other reasons, it's like, I don't know, especially if it's just based on, if I see on like one or two layers of timing, that doesn't mean that I'm going to get the same type of support from all of the layers of timing. Sometimes, like, I'll notice different layers of timing giving conflicting information where, like, yeah, it might be good to do this thing, but the person might have no motivation at that point to do it. And that's true too. Like, both of those can be true at the same time. So, yeah, that's why it's just as important to look at the astrology as it is to listen to yourself and just like listen to how you feel. Like the astrology will give you a little information, or a lot of information, but it doesn't replace the information from your heart, if you will. Astro counterpoint, makes an excellent astral counterpoint in that Vedic astrologers predict with that much conviction, and that scares them. Yeah, great observation, great point that I do my type of Hellenistic astrology, and there are other types of astrology. There are other, I mean, all these different cultures are coming up over the, last thousands of years with their own astrologies and their own cultures and philosophies around how to use those tools. So I use my tools how I am trained to use them. And that's not the same as me and like knowing the limitations of my bag of tools. And it is good to explicitly say that I don't mean to project those Hellenistic limitations that I see with my type of astrology. I don't want to project that onto other things. Um, and I am just talking about transits as timing and how like vague transits can be. Of course, we also know that similar to Vedic, Hellenistic also has a lot of extremely precise things, uh, like, you know, circumambulations and like timing of death and stuff like that gets very specific. So, but yeah, I'm not that powerful enough of a wizard. Even like rectification done really well, that is at that level. Like if someone is rectifying your chart, to me, that's kind of like the highest, most intense level of saying something with conviction. That's like, whoa, we're gonna say that with conviction? Okay, all right, cool. Um, but yeah, so to your point, astro counterpoint. Yes, it is. And it also makes me nervous as well. And this is why I don't do rectification. I tried. I'm not good at it. I don't do it. Because I don't have the power to be that precise. I will someday, but I need like 5 more years. I'm feeling another digression, but for the purposes of time, I just shouldn't. But thank you for the comments, everyone. I have a Vedic astrologer. It's Nate Craddock. If I went back to a Vedic astrologer, I would still go back to him. He's excellent. I am actually due. I wanted to redo um, my Durga mantra remediation. I had gone through the remediation processes for Venus and Jupiter, and that took me a few months, and I made it through without screwing it up. But the remediation that I was prescribed for my Rahu, classically, I did not stick to it, and that's the one that got messed up. So I have been meaning to meet with my Vedic astrologer to have them give me the good time to restart my mantra practice. I love Vedic astrology, and I will eventually be like all the other Hellenistic astrologers that eventually go out and learn Vedic and add that to their thing. It's powerful. And it's different. I like listening to astrology that isn't mine, that I have no idea what it is. I got an evolutionary astrology reading talking about like past lives and future lives and stuff that I rarely, if ever, really consider um, outside of like Buddhist karma stuff. But yeah, I even got an evolutionary reading and it was awesome. It was by Camille Michelle Gray. Highly recommend. Millie Michelle on all the social medias. Awesome reading. Uh, Yeah, like there's just certain like astrology, there's so many levels. There's so many grades to this like and I have so much work I could do. Things I could learn. It's a lifetime sport. And someone has entered their Mercury real perfection year. Congratulations. You are now, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what your Mercury is like, but I hope it's a great Mercury year. I hope it goes well. Yeah, and like someone saying they've watched Vedic videos on YouTube and it feels like a lot to remember because it's so specific. What I would say to that is that like Hellenistic is just as specific and complicated in terms of its like labels, system, like the lists of stuff. Um, yeah, medicine is another one. Uh, Probably like being a car mechanic is another one. There, yeah, any big system of knowledge is going to be overwhelming, and that's why it's a lifetime sport. That's yeah, it's a lot. It takes a long time. That's why I'm like, give me 10 more years and I'll learn Vedic. I have not spent enough time with Hellenistic yet. Uh, mm. Someone's asking a question. Are there any specific perfection years that lean more beneficial? Yes, there are going to be better and worse profection years, and it will depend specifically on your birth chart and the dice roll of how your planets fall on your birth chart. So it's different for everybody. And it's not as easy even as saying, oh, I have a Venus or a Jupiter ruled year, more favorable. Mars-Saturn ruled year, less favorable. It's not even that simple because we got to look at the condition of the planet in your birth chart. So, yes, there are better years than other years, and you that it would be a specific thing to look at. Yeah. Yes, and someone just got done with an eighth house perfection year, and it had a lot of stuff on it about money, death, and sex, which is eighth housey stuff. Uh, Eighth house, well, sex, modern, whatever. But yeah, eighth housey stuff during an eighth house year. Indeed, it does happen. Um, Thank you for sharing that. We love to hear. Again, I love to hear it. I think that we can integrate as like a collective, like astrology scene. Think about how far we've come. We have integrated our big three. People know their sun, moon, rising. I cannot flip and believe it. We also have people talking about their Saturn return, people talking about their second Saturn return. People are freaking out over Mercury retrogrades. People are freaking out over Saturn stations and retrogrades now. We're doing so well. We are integrating. We're integrating all the stuff. So next, it's the profections, annual profections. This is the one we got to integrate next. And like I love hearing it in the chat that all you folks are like, yes, you're with me. You're with it. This is what I like to hear. It also helps me sleep at night because then I know I can say things and the people on the other end can pick it up and not hurt themselves with it. Which like it's on me, but it's teamwork. And this is teamwork and I appreciate people doing the legwork on their end. It is work and effort that I am asking of people, so I get why people might have resistance to it. So all the much more appreciated when I hear people knowing. Yeah, essential dignity. Thank you, David. We started integrate essential dignity. I mean, I'm even behind now. I'm like not like I don't do the parts. I've kind of like the 12 parts. I mess with them, I dabble. But like that's even people are learning about that. So like if we can do all that in the last like 9 years I've been here, 10 years, like we can learn perfections. We can do it. Yeah. It's gonna happen. We just have to believe. Okay, I need to finish this month because I said I wouldn't be here 3 hours and it's gonna happen. Okay, so we are so close to the end of the month. Uh, Great discussion. Thank you, everyone. So let's talk about some of these planets moving through Ketu, the south node. Sun and Mercury are moving through there at the end of Leo, and then they are going to move into Virgo. So really starting like August 19th, the sun is in an adherence with the south node. They're within 3 degrees of the south node. So this is when we're really going to be feeling the sun's energy, our will, our identities, our sense of moving about in the world uh, is with this very immaterial spiritual point that doesn't care about material world profitability or effort. And so, yeah, August 19th into the end of the month, with both Sun and Mercury moving through here. I'm going to say that like the last 10 days of the month, the last decade of the month, um, maybe less physical energy for some of us, depending on your chart. The sun is our will, especially if you're like a Leo rising or like a Virgo or Gemini rising, and Mercury is your ascendant ruler. You might notice like that lack of physical vigor, lack of physical motivation to go out in the physical material world and get the bills paid. Maybe less motivation for that the last part of August. If you don't notice that, don't go looking for it, but that is a possibility because the south node drains things, it decreases things, the energy uh, is eliminated, is removed. And so the energy of the sun is being decreased, lessened, removed. So, yeah, maybe if you're feeling in your body tired, maybe if you're feeling like you don't have the motivation, just know that you aren't imagining it, that it's temporary, that it should clear up and start to feel better probably by like the 25th of August. At that point, we'll have both Mercury and Sun having gone through this point of not physical energy, not material energy. Also, these planets more spiritually focused, more immaterially focused. So I'm getting some of this, speaking of the Vedic tradition, from Jyotish, from Vedic astrology, from India. They talk about the South Node not just simply as decrease, but also it's more of an immaterial focus. It's not concerned with achievement and everything we're chasing after. It's not about craving. It's the opposite of craving. It's, I've had enough. I don't want any more. We're getting rid of it. So it's, if it's not the decreasing or like lessening of energy or something, what it could be, maybe this would be really nice the last 10 days of August, a lessening of craving, not craving, not wanting to lean forward into life so much and like keep going after stuff. And maybe that's a beautiful place to rest. So if you're feeling satisfied in a weird way, satiated, not craving things, not wanting to, yeah, just move and shake out there. Yeah, cool. Be more spiritual, be more immaterial. Sun is going to go do that. It's like our will, our ego, our sense of healthy ego, our sense of self, who has identities and labels and roles. Maybe we set some of that down for a few days at the end of August and then pick it back up more in September. So there's some interesting lower energy kind of, but not necessarily in a bad way. But, and also the last 10 days of August, listen to your body. If, especially if you're a Leo, Virgo, Gemini rising, and you are the sun or you are Mercury, listen to your physical body as well, not pushing yourself over your limits. Right. And then really like Mercury's condition in August, it's the worst from the 19th to the 25th. That's when Mercury's in combust or with the south node. And then on the 25th, Mercury moves into Virgo. They get their little sunbrella. They put on some sunscreen. They hydrate. They got their energy back. And for the most part, and they're not bothered by the sun and they're much better. So 19th through the 25th. I've said a few different times that aren't my favorite for communication and purchasing and buying and stuff. Uh, yes. And another one is from the 19th to the 25th. I don't love it for commerce, buying, selling, making plans, doing communications, having those things go smoothly. And I don't think I said it, but the 23rd of August is not the day to hand in applications. The 24th is better. But yeah, the 23rd, 22nd, 23rd of August, do not hand in requests or applications or submit requests or applications that you want to be approved. Okay. Sun, Mercury have a little short mutual exchange. That's another kind of cute thing that happens for a second. Um, on the 22nd, when the sun enters Virgo, there's 3 days, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. where the sun is in Mercury's sign and Mercury is in the sun sign. And we're really going to see for those few days the topics of Leo and Virgo squished together. So look at the Leo house topics for yourself, look at the Virgo house topics for yourself. And those areas of life are going to be commingling a lot on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Mutual reception, kind of, but it's not really a reception because there's no aspect, there's no planet receiving the other, but there are planets exchanging signs, and I don't think it's a mitigation as much as it is a conflation of topics and themes. So I don't treat it like a mitigation. I know some people do, but I definitely treat it like those planets are now commingling all of those signs and house topics together. And that's just for a few days. And then Mercury joins the sun, which is great for the sun too, because now Mercury is able to give the sun guidance and direction in Virgo. And this is where the last 5 days of the month here with Mercury in excellent condition, this is when, and I know there's a square with Uranus, I kind of don't care. I'm getting excited. We should wait till the end of the month. Mercury gets done with the square with Uranus, gets done with this last little blip of instability on August 28th. So like Mercury condition, the 19th to the 25th is not great. The 25th, 26th, 27th is a lot better. 28th, 29th, 30th, even better. So Mercury's condition just keeps improving as August progresses. So that's something to know. And I wouldn't expect around 24th, 25th, 26th is not when I would expect to get information, news, any kind of information or details or news that you're waiting for. It might not be present for a few days. I almost wonder if this Mercury going through South Node square Uranus, it's giving Mercury retrograde vibes. It's giving interruption of communication, interruption of technology, sudden disappearances or interruptions of communication, technology, travel. Like, that's a Mercury South Node. Yeah. Yeah, I really like Mercury after the 28th. We are right here, though, with this whole eclipse business. So we've come across then our last big configuration of the month, which is the lunar Pisces, lunar eclipse in Pisces, Mercury cazimi combination together at the same time, and then also square Uranus all together at the same time. So thankful Mercury is effective at this point. Very pumped. Mars can see, but not by that harmful of an aspect. Venus and Jupiter can't see to help, so we're not getting that benefit of stability or softness. But we do have Mercury here helping hold down the fort a little bit. So we've got on our side during this last eclipse rationality, objectivity, just being reasonable, not getting swept away with emotion. So if you're on that second date, this one feels more chill. This one feels maybe a little more serious, maybe not as like fast, fun, and flirty. It's more like slow, like soft, demure, mindful and demure date. So can still be fine, but yeah, much more of a mindful, demure attitude. Venus is moving past that opposition with Saturn. So now we've had the critiques, we've had all of the thoughts, we've considered things in our relationships, and we're on the other side of that. So I like being on the other side of that too by the time we get to this eclipse. We not only have very discerning, rational, logical, objective, not over emotional Mercury here, and we've got very diplomatic, charming, cool as a cucumber, Venus and Libra. Very nice pair of planets to kind of hold this sky. So Again, not the worst eclipse I've ever seen. Eclipses aren't stable, but not the worst one I've ever seen at all. Oh, I think maybe the main thing is the Mars-Saturn squares here, but it's not the main part of this eclipse story, I don't think, you know? It's just not. It's not, yeah. The moon has to rule over that Mars, but yeah, it doesn't feel like the main driving factor. Mercury cazimi is a time of clarity. It is a time of not so much with the direct, but a reset button. It is a refresh. Mercury is going through the purifying fires of the sun. It's kind of an intense process, but it is one of purification and one that gives us clarity. So this is it's a full moon. It illuminates whatever it touches. So Pisces, very illuminated. The topics of Pisces, very, realizations happening, understanding that, seeing how far you've come, maybe with the Pisces, Virgo, axes topics in your chart since 6 months ago, since like February, March. For me, this is in my financial axes in my second and eighth, and I will have come kind of 6 months full circle on a financial story by that time. So for me, it's just kind of that 6 month clock with a financial thing for me. For this theoretical Aries rising, maybe it would be about their health or labor or animals or something like that. But definitely a culmination, fruiting, peaking of something. Maybe again, especially something you've been working on for 6 months. And so there's this illuminating quality of the moon, and there is also this clarifying quality of the Mercury cazimi. But now Mercury stuff. So Gemini, Virgo, clarity around this, including the place where Uranus is. So there is a square adjustment being needed to take advantage of any breakthroughs, sudden insights, sudden aha moments. That's how I can deal with that. That's how that could go down. And maybe the square is saying, yeah, we need to make an adjustment, need to make a change, but some kind of clarity or breakthrough energy coming through really nicely here. So I'm very curious what we'll be seeing, understanding, realizing around this eclipse. My personal kind of stuff that I do is to clean my bathroom, my home as much as possible, kind of leading up to the eclipses. Do my little remediatory salt baths. I have snake sheds that I got from a friend, which is great. So if you have snake sheds, you can offer that, especially for a solar eclipse, as an offering. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of guidance. If you are part of the Sphere and Sundry community from Caitlin Kopic, they have a lot of really good information it's behind that kind of paywall, but um, highly recommend checking that out. I recommend it like every other time there's eclipses. They have eclipse remediation info. What am I forgetting? The decans. So there's clarity, there's illumination, and we got this kind of Eight of Cups, Eight of Pentacles thing happening where the moon is illuminating in a place that's about finding what best aligns with us. It is looking at the underlying structures, and this comes from Austin Coppock in his 36 Decans work, but he talks about the Saturnian decan, this first 10 degrees of Pisces, that it's really kind of looking at the structures that exist underneath things, the underlying hidden or subtle structures or reasons that we do what we do, or that we have the life structured how we have it structured. And Moon is here examining that. Okay, what are the underlying structures? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why is it like this? And finding better ways forward so that when we get to the middle of Pisces, we now have come into alignment. Austin Coppock talks about making it so that the life that you imagine for yourself, what you envision, is what is on the outside, is the life that you are living, is what you are imagining, and it matches. Versus when you know there's a misalignment. I'm not living the life that is aligned with me, that's aligned with my values, my ethics. This is where Venus finds their exaltation. So we care about these things here. And the Sun and Mercury are in this place of the Eight of Pentacles, which is much more about the processes and procedures that we do to get to where we want to go. The hard work that we do to that very tedious work of the regular day to get us to these dreamed and imagined spaces. So I kind of wonder if we're going to be seeing a little bit of some kind of thing to improve, something that doesn't feel quite aligned, but at least we're seeing it. And in this realization, we can then spend the next 6 months rectifying that. Let me see if I had any reflection questions. Okay, here's my reflection questions for the, the lunar eclipse. On the journey to somewhere better and more aligned, how far have you come in 6 months? In terms of addressing issues and being ready to change them, how far have you come in the last 6 months? Where would you like to go in the next 6 months in terms of making a life that's more aligned? In terms of an issue that you're ready to change? Where would you like to be 6 months from now? Um, what things are you realizing are supportive and how to get more of that, or realizing what is getting in the way and what I need to deal with? And then the more Eight of Pentacles side, what processes, procedures do I need to get to where I want to go? So similar to the last eclipse, it is followed up by a void of course moon. And not only that, but it's followed up by a void of course moon that is also in a Mars-Mars sandwich. So it's like the same vibes. It's like very similar vibes. Let's see. Did I say what the difference was? No, I didn't. I was trying to remember what the exact Mars aspects were. Oh yeah, this one goes from a trine to a square too. So that's like not an improvement. Void of course moon is from the 28th of August to the 31st of August. So there's this eclipse energy that again is highly energetic, not stable, followed by the moon not making any connections and not doing a whole hell of a lot, and thus not bringing anything into fruition. So it's just kind of, again, practically speaking, another chunk of days that isn't good for starting new things. It's not great for like making a lot of material world progress, but void of course moons are fine for engaging in things that are low impact, familiar, not a new beginning, not a start, just doing what you're normally doing, doing a project that's already begun. All of that's fine. Just don't start any new things. Don't ask that person on a date on August 28th or August 29th, especially. August 30th is not that great either. The exact time here is August 28th from 4:13 p.m. Universal Time to the 31st at 1:38 a.m. Universal Time. So that's about noon, 11 a.m. noon on August 28th to the evening of the 30th. And that's the time of the void of course moon when nothing will come of whatever you're doing. The plant will not sprout. The date will not say yes. They will already be taken and not polyamorous. Your cake will not look like the picture. 28th, 29th, more than likely. Prove me wrong. Send me a picture of the cake that turned out. I would love to be wrong on this one, but this is not when the farmer almanacs tell us to go about doing our most grand endeavors. So yeah, kind of a funky pairing of these eclipses that are not that bad, and then they're followed by void of course moons that are like not that helpful. So I don't know, it's just like 12th through the 15th are kind of funny, and the 28th through the 30th are kind of funny. And not ha ha funny, interesting funny. Um, so I think there's only one other thing. Another mutual reception between the moon and Mars. Yeah, there's a few little things here. So we've got another cute little moon Mars mutual reception. on the 29th. This is another on the 29th, like maybe a mind your own business day. Um, Definitely have your facts correct and straight on the 29th. Do not be impulsive unless you know for sure what is happening. Um, on the 29th, and then, I mean, by the time we get into the 30th, it's pretty much, yeah, it's mostly. If you're third shift, like continue to just be careful all the way through August 30th. It's kind of a mind your own business day. Have your facts straight. Watch for confusion. Yeah, the morning too of August 30th, Central Time. Uh, Not a good time to hand in applications. August 29th, 30th, I do not like for handing in applications or requests. Now we do have a Moon Mars mutual reception. Moon Mars mutual reception. Say that 10 times fast. Uh, it's going to make this more functional. It's going to make this work better. It's going to make it not as bad as it usually might be. And I still don't like it for applications or requests. So, okay. I find that Mars, Moon, mutual reception across Aries and Cancer, it's really effective in short bursts. It's so effective at just like nailing or going through something or nailing something down really quick or getting through a bunch of work really quick because it's two cardinal signs. It's Aries, and I know Cancer isn't known to be fast, but they are cardinal, so they're still fast. Yeah, it's really effective, but like it doesn't have a lot of staying power. So then on like the 29th and 30th, working in short little bursts might be more effective than like trying to just sit down and do a bunch of work. And then end of the month comes and we've got our combination Jupiter-Saturn trine, Mars-Saturn square, both happening at the same time. And that's going to close out our month. So let's talk about that. Uh, as we end the month, we finally have Jupiter past this trine, which I don't know, I think it's fine. For the most part, it's going to be these two planets working together harmoniously, bringing together themes of structure, the rules, and then Jupiter have it be meaningful and make sense. It's not just a random bag of useless rules that are harmful. It is with Jupiter involved. Now it's purposeful and meaningful and it makes sense. Together, you get something that's structured and makes sense. So this trine, not terrible, not a bad thing. In my opinion, Jupiter has been for the last year dealing with a square. And so Jupiter trying to grow and expand and having all these resources, and yet Saturn overcoming, saying, not so fast, probably not going to be able to do as much as you think you are, kind of stymieing and limiting what Jupiter could do. Now that Jupiter is in a trine, they're not as held back. Now Mars is the one that's held back, but Jupiter is able to carry out their Jupiter things, goodwill, the future, with less impediment, less hiccups. And so this is constructive and fine. There's challenges, and Jupiter is like, all right, we're gonna do our best. Now, Mars, on the other hand, they want to go forward, they want to do what they want to do. They're under supported and they're running into some obstacles. And so we are ending August with a bit of a there's some little bit of frustration, potentially just around pacing. It might not be that something isn't working out or that it's unsuccessful. It just might be that there's like a sense of urgency or things aren't happening in the order of operations that we thought that they should. So there's something like crunchy, not working together easily or well. So make space for that. Be extra kind to yourself. Be, reasonably lenient with others if at the end of August things are running into hiccups or frustrations, or there's just this kind of difficulty with pacing. And then that completes on September 1st. So as soon as we get into September, that peaks, and then we can move on and have the rest of September with this Mars-Saturn square in the rear view. But when Mars-Saturn is square, what we don't really want to do usually is fight it. And so like August. It's sounds. My brain is like, close enough. Uh, August 30th, August 31st. Um, this is where like if you're running into obstacles, if you're feeling tired, continuing to try to just push forward, you're either going to just tire yourself out or you're going to waste time and energy. So, August 30th and 31st, maybe the message is just chill. Just slow down, find another way around, do some problem solving, some strategy stuff, and then know that you're going to have better luck, less obstacles, less obstruction September 1st and onward. So if you can even just wait a couple days, few days, that should start to clear up in September. Whatever is getting in Mars's way. So Mars is trying to do something, especially in the Cancer area of your chart. And so think about, what is Mars trying to do? What missions do they have? What areas of life are they working on for me? And those are going to be the areas of life where you're going to want to slow down if the universe is slowing you down and saying stop. You're going to heed that message, at least temporarily. So I think that covers it. Yeah, I think that covers it. Thank you so much, everyone. Let me just make sure you don't have any other notes. Yeah, we kind of end the month how it starts, but a little bit of a moon kind of T-square thing. But that's okay. It's not as bad as the T-square at the beginning of August. So August 31st, kind of a mind your own business day. Yeah, it's kind of, what did I say? The 30th, 29th, 30th, 31st. It's giving mind your own business day. But then things look, at least the moon starts to have a better time. Yeah, the moon starts to have a better time like later on September 1st. And then September 2nd looks even better. So August turning into September, meh. September 2nd, 3rd, 4th, improvement of the vibes. And then we'll get into September next month. Great. Okay. Yay. We did it. And it took way longer than I thought again. I don't know if this is happening because I probably know a lot of reasons why this is happening. I have a Virgo South node and the details, I love all of them and I can't let any of them go. I have to tell you all of the details every month. And every month I say I'm not going to tell them as many details as I did last month, and then I don't. I just keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's been 3 hours. Okay, it was not 2, so I apologize for that. There will be timestamps. And next month, I'll try again at being concise. We'll see how it goes. Thank you, everyone who had comments in the chat. It makes it a lot more fun, and I appreciate it. It's good to know what people are thinking about and concerned about over there. So thank you. Let me see if there's anything to wrap up with. Yeah, and someone was like, oh, shoot, I thought we were done with the eclipses in Virgo and Pisces. Not quite. So, whereas you are picking up on something that has changed, which is the lunar nodes have changed signs. They are now in Aquarius and Leo. They're not going back to Pisces and Virgo. But we're going to get some of these eclipses that combine like 4 different house topics. So, the solar eclipse is really quite simple and straightforward in a lot of ways because we just have like one house. Granted, we got a couple other planets in here, so that adds a little bit. But it's like we got 2 places at most that are involved, like the North Node in Aquarius and the luminaries in the South Node in Leo. what one of the commenters is saying is like, well, this next one though, now, okay, I've got Leo and Aquarius house topics with the nodes, but the luminaries are still in Virgo and Pisces, and we're gonna have a few more of those. Um, yeah, yeah, September 10th. Uh, nope, is that's not it. Want an eclipse. Yeah, February 6th is a Aquarius one, but then it looks like February is another Pisces Virgo one. And then is that it? I think that might be it. So, okay, we've got this one and then one more in the Virgo Pisces. So, yeah, not quite done. And it just makes things even more complex because then we're dealing with like, yeah, four different sets of house topics. And it gets to be a lot. But yes, you will make a very good observation. Not quite done with that yet. Yeah, someone says it's fun how astrology can surprise you even in predictable ways. Yeah, it's so fun. It never seems like it always surprises me like in this kind of awe way. Like, wow, I can't believe that works. Like every time it works, I'm just like, wow. Um, and especially when we can have that rapture response, like just being curious, like what could happen. The rapture response of like, cool, astrology good. That's great. And thank you for reminding me that one of my things that I like to say at the beginning of the forecast is that um like this isn't supposed to be something that creates more tension, but it often does because that's the nature of anticipating the future. Our brains are like prediction machines. So before we had the astrology prediction, we had our brains always as prediction machines and they're always trying to anticipate the future. And anticipation of the future is a tense state. It's usually not a relaxed, tranquil state. So it's very common that messing with future astrology, we also start messing with our brain's anticipation of the future, and we can get tension, tension, tension. So when people talk about, oh, that's curious, it's cool how this works, and that it could, tell us something, even if it's unexpected and somehow also within this certain system. And it's like, yeah, it's going to probably be these like eight possible things, but I still will never be able to tell you like exactly which one until the exact moment. That kind of curiosity is a much more sustainable attitude to take. Not always the easiest one to take, but it's more sustainable than tension and worry. And I do try to say at the beginning of my forecast, which I forgot this time, that if there is any tension that arises, worry, fear, and not like reasonable, heedful, like, yes, I should do that before I should, get my tires changed before it snows out. There's some little types of, heedful fear that are reasonable. But if you find yourself ever overthinking, over worrying, looking at the chart, looking at the sky, kind of doing that hamster wheel of worry, eh, that's when you might need to step away. Then the astrology is not going to be as helpful anyway. And we can always, and this is always the last step, talking about the first four steps, the last step is always coming back to right now and what can you do or not do? What actions can you take or what inactions can you take to do the most skillful thing with this moment? And astrology can help add information about knowing what is skillful or unskillful to do in any certain moment. And sometimes, if it's not helping, you can use other information like just your regular brain. You know, I digress. I think that's it. I think that's the last of my notes. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. So check out my website. Check out my writings. Again, I did one on the Leo stuff, so I have some recent writings. My website has everything on there. It's my services, my scheduling, my writings. I have electional astrology on there. So, yeah, let me know whatever you need. If you have any questions, if you're not sure what the best service is, you can always email me as well at aligninlightastro@gmail.com. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can obviously put them in the comments below. My most responsive communication technique is my email. So you can always send me questions about the forecast as well. aligninlightastro@gmail.com. Have a good month. I'll see you all on August 13th. I will be here for the Q&A, and you can always, again, send questions to that email. I have divination tarot readings. I think that's it. I think that's my things. No other notes. I think that's all the notes. I'm sorry if I'm missing anyone's, but thank you so much, everyone. Okay, have a good month. Hit like, hit subscribe.